Charlemagne, you previously called both Joe Biden and Donald Trump trash candidates, and you said you would vote in this election, but you would not endorse Biden. Now that he's out, do you think you might endorse Vice President Kamala Harris should she get the nomination?
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely would endorse Vice President Kamala Harris. I supported Kamala Harris in 2020 when she ran for president. I was out there on the campaign trail with her. She was the only reason that I voted for the Biden-Harris ticket to begin with. And, we have our, disagreements on air and off air. But I think that, she is the perfect person, to be to fight in these unprecedented times, right?
To my fellow Christians, either Donald Trump or Kamala Harris will be our next president. Neither one of them is perfect, but we can't vote for this dude. I don't agree with everything that Kamala Harris stands for either, but I will be voting for her because the goal is to be like Jesus, and this ain't it. Watch this.
And again, Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
What's your favorite policy of Kamala's?
That's a hard one.
What's your favorite policy of Kamala's?
Her being president.
That's your favorite policy position?
Oh, yeah.
How so?
Because it covers everything that she defends.
I'm really excited for her to restore reproductive rights across America.
How do you think she'll go about doing that?
I don't know.
What a fun question.
I don't know. I'm picking and choosing. I mean, I really like most of them.
So you have to look at it broadly, right? It's about what she stands for right now.
What's your favorite of Kamala's policies?
I'm trying to think. Well, actually, more of like, what Waltz comes in.
All of her policies, everything from I'm non-binary, and so all of the policies for basic human rights to have our own bodies and do with them as we please,
Her willingness to move forward on affordable health care.
How do you think she'll do that as president?
I think she'll work to motivate the legislature to vote in favor of it.
As her as a person, just tops out any policy.
Real quick, I want to talk about the DNC. I feel like the DNC has been going amazing, but I also feel like tonight Kamala Harris has a pretty difficult job, right? And it's interesting because the Republican correspondent that's been doing the roundup after the DNC has ended, he asked the question that I kind of asked Kamala when we had our second meeting, if, the fact that she's in office right now, she's in the White House right now. And the guy, he said, what makes y'all believe that she's going to get this stuff done if she becomes president and she's already in the House? And it's a tricky question because I asked Kamala basically the same thing, right? In so many words. And I asked her, as the vice president, why they don't let her talk when, Biden seems like he needed someone to speak up for him. I thought that's what the role of the vice president was to help the president. And basically, she kind of let me know that her hands was tied, that they didn't really allow her to be a voice like that in that space. And tonight, I don't know if she's gonna, I want to see how if she even touches on this, because if she doesn't touch on it, that's the question that I feel like the people that have mixed decisions about voting for her this is one of the questions. This is the top question that they had. And like I said, this is what the Republicans are saying. You know, and they never heard the part about her hands being tied. And if she says something about her hands being tied, then it makes it look like the White House or the Democratic Party didn't really want her to exceed. So she can't really say her hands was tied, but she does have to step into that space. This is something I do believe.
When I wrote the article about you, you know, and I just outlined everything that every black man in the barbershop, black woman would talk about in the conversations, because I always go back to it, because basically everything that everybody was saying about you, whether she's black enough, does she like black men, she's putting black people in jail, you know, the common things that was actually said. But at the same time, I write that, and I didn't have a conversation with you. When we had the conversation and we talked about it, we talked about the different things. It was almost, and after the conversation, I felt like I was actually certifying you, because we were talking about fried chicken and talking about all these different things. And then we talked about the gun and the FICA score and these different, so it was like, okay, it's like, I like this lady. You know what I'm saying? She's about everything that we're about, the struggles and the things that we have to deal with on a daily basis as activists in our community. And so how did I come to that place? And then that's when I ended up writing the other article saying, okay, this is this. You know, because, you know, and you know, again, we get to the point where we prejudge a person. So then now I'm out here fighting the fight of the same thing I basically wrote, you know, and I'm trying to convince people that, no, that was wrong.
Come on, we got an opportunity here of a lifetime. We'll be dead and gone, but we can say our generation, because we're not going to live ever, that we voted a black man and a black woman to become president of the United States. That's history. This is what Dr. King died for. This is what Medgar Evers died for. This is what Rosa Parks went to jail for. All of the sacrifices that black people had to make. Your grandmother's cleaning up white people's house and cleaning and scrubbing floors and doing all of this stuff.
Nigga! And you know what, nigga? You act like a little right now.
Oh, what you doing? What you doing? What you doing? What you doing?
All these black people made all these sacrifices for us.
I voted for Biden, despite the crime bill that incarcerated a whole bunch of people in the 90s that looked like me. I shoved all of that aside, all of it, because I knew how divisive Trump would be. As we sit here now and we watch something like this transpire, where there seems to be more rapt attention being paid to folks who are not even here illegally, nor are from this country, yet we want to turn around and ignore us, black folks, Latinos, and beyond, who are impoverished and are in need. We know why you're doing it, because you want that voting block.
Before y'all start calling my radio show and DMing me, talking about why you ain't asked no hard-hitting questions, that ain't what this is. I'm throwing a lob. This is an alley-oop for a dunk. Because this administration needs to get the word out of what they're actually doing and what they're actually accomplishing, so we can stop all this foolishness about what you're doing for black people. Can't nobody come out with no agenda and call it this for black people and expect to get in the White House. You got to play the game different. Y'all know what this is.
I can't vote for a party that is for all kind of sexual perversions. I can't do it. I can't vote for a party that's going to accept transgenders going into women's restrooms. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't go with a party that wants to cut little girls' breasts off to make them boys. I can't go with a party that says you can be a boy today and a girl tomorrow. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't support a party that wants to remove God from its party platform. You in trouble when the nation forgets God. I can't follow a party that wants to sexualize our children in school, put drag queens in front of them, reading them little children's stories. I can't do it. I can't support a party that wants to take the rights of parents away. In California right now, parents are being arrested because they won't go along with the sexualization of their children. But there are many parents that are compromised. Y'all got to make a decision. It's either God or the devil.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the BCV channel. I am your host, Pastor SaikoWoods. Please do the following. Please like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell at the bottom of this video. That way, whenever I go live or post any content or videos or information for you, the viewer, you'll be one of the first to view it. Also, if you'd like to support this ministry financially, first and foremost, thank you. All of you, those of you who consistently and faithfully support this ministry tangibly with your expressions of love and gifts to this channel. We do appreciate that, and thank you so much on behalf of the BCV broadcast and also Love, Life, and Marriage with the Woods. We do appreciate that, and thank you so much. If you'd like to become a body lifers are those who, outside of their local fellowship or church that they attend, would like to support ministries like this. You can do so by clicking the donation links below at the bottom of the video. There's no start amount. There's no particular dollar amount that you need to start one. You can just use whatever as the Lord leads and lays on your heart to support this ministry, and we do appreciate that. I want to say also as well, as you see in the description, I have put up a huge attention or notice regarding the Super Chat. If you have been supporting this ministry through Super Chat, I do appreciate that and thank you for doing so, but I want to encourage you to reconsider supporting and utilizing the donation links below because of the content that I have been producing and creating. YouTube has been demonetizing it. They have also removed some videos that I have done because of the content, whatever particular community violations that they claim that I have committed and perpetrated. So I'm encouraging all of you to reconsider supporting this ministry, not through Super Chat. If you have done so, I do appreciate it. But going forward, I'm asking for you and encouraging you to utilize the other links for a couple of reasons. Number one, it'll be sent to us in a more expedited fashion versus having to wait for the next revenue cycle, which is the following month from the time that you submit and you send your gifts. Also, number two, YouTube takes out a fee. Well, with the other links that we have here below, we have Venmo or Cash App or Zelle. Particularly Zelle does not take out any transfer fees, but if it is all three are more expedited or better expedited versus using the Super Chat. And so again, I want to encourage you to do that. And I want to encourage you also, if you have not supported this channel, I would pray and ask that you will do so. What I do is a labor of love to the body of Christ. And many of you have come to this channel and have been encouraged, have been fed spiritually by the content, have been fed spiritually by the messages, whether I've done sermons or have addressed issues. One of the things I always strive to do, whatever the topic, whatever the issue is to always have a biblical principle, whether implicitly or explicitly taught throughout the live stream. And so you've been on this channel, you've been following this ministry, you know how I do, you know how I move and get down. And so if you would like to support this ministry, I do encourage you to do so. It is very helpful, and it helps to also underwrite the costs that are involved in maintaining this channel and also other things that we do here on the BCV broadcast. Many of you have also asked about the Love, Life, and Marriage with the Woods channel. We are still up. We have not produced anything yet, but we do have a lot to talk about. Trust me. We were about to do a live Q&A just this past weekend or a couple of days ago, but we had other things that came up at the last minute. But we haven't forgot about you, those of you who have been supporting the Love, Life, and Marriage with the Woods channel. We have a lot to talk about. A lot has happened, has changed in the past year. Some things we want to let you know about in God's time. We do believe that as well. And so whenever He allows us to do that, we would definitely do so. But we ask for your prayers, we ask for your encouragement, we ask for your support in that as well. All right. So, moderators, thank you for holding it down. Welcome, moderators. Welcome, YouTube family. Welcome, Facebook family. Good to see all of you. Those of you who will be watching it on the replay. Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever you are, whatever you're doing. Thank you for being a part of the BCV broadcast. As you see, this is part 3, and as I mentioned, part 1 and 2 is on the channel. It has been demonetized. It has been demonetized. Actually, if you were here for part 2, I had to do part 2 continuation, a continuation of part 2, because YouTube shut down my live stream for whatever reason. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, they have been doing that. So we're going to see how long. Hopefully, prayerfully, they won't do that on this one. I'm trying to make sure that I'm up to code and all of that stuff, but you know how it goes. So again, be praying for me that I would put out this content, put out this information, because I do believe that we are in a time where the truth is under attack. And listen, not just the truth, but biblical truth. Listen, dealing with topics like this is not popular. If you were able to watch the interview that I had with Colin Heaton from the Forgotten History channel on YouTube, I encourage you to go over there. This man's content is fire. It's fire. All I can tell you, just go over there. You won't be disappointed. You'll thank me later. But go over there to the Forgotten History channel, not the History channel, but the Forgotten History channel with Colin Heaton. Had him as a guest on my broadcast, and I'm glad that the Lord allowed me to have our paths to cross, because what this gentleman has said and what this man has committed as far as informing the people in this country of the truth, he has been under fire as well too. Actually, someone had asked me about the January 6th video that he had mentioned on my broadcast. Well, YouTube took that down. They took it down. I wonder why that is. I think we all know, right? But we got to be wise as serpents, but innocent as doves, right? That's what God calls us to do. So we got to know how to move. And sometimes how we move, the enemy will try to subvert, thwart, and just hinder and obstruct the progress that we're trying to make here in the kingdom. And so I'm not discouraged. I am encouraged, and I'm also encouraged in knowing that there are brothers and sisters of like-minded faith like yourself and others who love this channel, who support this channel, and are here for this channel. So again, this is part 3 of Because She's Black. Because She's Black. As you saw in the intro, the collage of videos, those are just some of the sellouts, the coons, the Sambos that we have to deal with here in the Black community. And again, this is for everyone to watch, but my concern is for the Black community. And I believe if you've been following my content and you've been watching my videos and have been hearing my heart and even seeing my frustration and anger and just disgust regarding how the Black community, regarding how the Black population, and particularly the Black church, are being willfully led astray, willfully gullible and foolish and naive regarding the Democrat Party. And you have these fake, phony, so-called preachers, and actually, like Proverbs just said, conservatives as well, that are leading our people into the slaughter. They're just running it right there. And there are not too many of us out here, but God has a remnant. And so for those of us who love the truth, and those of us who have no problem standing on the wall and sounding the alarm and waving people off from going down the wrong path and the wrong road, well, I hope and pray that this live stream encourages you, challenges you, even convicts some of you. Because far too many of you are content with being stupid. Far too many of you are content with just going with the status quo and just letting whatever be shall be. And let me just say this before we continue. Yes, is God sovereign? Absolutely. Is he in control of all things? You better know it. Does he rule and reign in the affairs of men? Sure, you're right. Can anything happen apart from his sovereign purpose and plan? Of course not. Everything occurs and everything is ordained by the sovereign providence of God. But here's a news flash and here's breaking news. Though God is sovereign, though God's providence will always be seen in the affairs of men, God uses men to carry out his sovereign purposes and plans in this earth realm. Yes, he installs kings and he brings kings down. And how does he do that? How does he do that? He does it. He can do it supernatural. We've seen that in the course of human history. But he also does it, normally speaking, through human agency, you and me. How do we remove wicked rulers? How do we remove wicked kings? How do we remove wicked leaders in our communities, in our councils, in our government offices? We do it through the process of voting for those who choose to do so and electing people who are either godly or have a moral compass. One of the two. Either they are saved or they are sensitive. They have a sensitive conscience when it comes to the moral law of God. And that is how we remove wicked, godless, evil people in this world. Is it going to be done perfectly? Of course not. We know a lot of corruption goes on in our elections. We know a lot of unjust decisions are made in our courts. But may we be encouraged to know that in spite of those things, God still reigns and he controls all things, but he uses people to carry out his purposes. I just want to encourage you with that. Now, if you have been like me, have watched this past week, the DNC convention, which I call the Dumb Niggas Convention, because that's really what it is. You saw a lot of the foolishness go on and basically a lot of buck dancing and cooning and gaslighting. I mean, you name it. That's what you saw. And you saw people all of a sudden praise and elevate a woman who had not one primary vote, not one primary delegate when she was running for president in 2020, in 2019. Not one. Not one. But now that they've taken Joe Biden out to pasture and put him down like old Yeller, all of a sudden now Kamala Harris is the go-to. Kamala Harris is the person now that everybody loves and everybody wants to see become president. I'm just going to tell you now, some of y'all are not going to like this, but I don't care. By God's grace, I would never vote for a female president. Nope. Because I know my Bible. I know some of you will say, well, that ain't got nothing to do with it. You know, it does. It does. It does. You can read the book of Judges, and you can see how the book of Judges had women ruling. It was because of the men not ruling, because God was judging Israel. And he says in Isaiah chapter 3, verse 12, that our women are oppressors and children that rule over you, that is a curse to any nation. When you have women ruling over a nation and you're having children in authority, that's God's curse on a nation. It's God's curse. So just for me, I hope and pray that there will always be an opportunity for me to make a wise and biblical choice regarding a political candidate that would run for the presidency of the United States, and it would not be a woman. I don't care if it was Candace Owens versus Kamala Harris. I would just have to sit out on that one and pray the Lord's will be done. I just would. I pray that it doesn't get to that point, but it is what it is. It is what it is. And that was just a free thought. Y'all were just able to hear it. So, in light of all of that, you saw the parading of sin and wickedness at the DNC convention. So much so that they were parading a mobile abortion clinic. Yep, you heard what I said. You heard me correctly. An abortion mobile center. A mobile abortion center. I mean, they advertised it. Had a huge, what it said, 18-foot IUD called Free to Womb, and they were handing out free murders and vasectomies for free. For free. And take a wild guess who their target clientele was. You guessed it. You guessed it. Dumb sheep. As always. As always. But for the Christian, we should know better, right? For the Christian, we should know what God has called us to do, and he has called us to be holy. So much so that he's called us and has commanded us not to partake, not to associate with anything that is wicked or seems wicked. In fact, 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 21 to 22, the Bible says, the word of God says, examine everything carefully. Hold fast to that which is good. And abstain, stay away from every kind of evil. Well, what does that mean, Seiko? How can I apply that to this election? I'm glad you asked. You look at the party platform of the Democrat Party and the Republican Party, and you examine it. You read their statements regarding morality. What is a man? What is a woman? We have a woman in the Supreme Court of the United States that had been nominated by Joseph R. Biden, who in her confirmation hearing was asked, what is a woman? And Ketanji Brown Jackson, KBJ, could not tell us what a woman is. Well, we know she knows what a woman is. We know she knows what a woman is, but that's how satanic and deceptive the enemy is. And she said she couldn't tell you what a woman is. Now, this is a woman who's going to be making decisions, final decisions, has the final say, one of the final says among 9 Supreme Court justices that will have a consequence that will last for at least 40 years, at least a generation. At least a generation. And she does not know what a woman is. Very liberal, left-leaning, ungodly judge, making decisions regarding morality, regarding family, regarding constitutional rights for American citizens that does not know what a man and a woman is. Well, that should concern all of us who live here in this world. But the Bible tells us we're to examine everything carefully, hold fast to that which is good, abstain, stay away from every kind of evil. Every kind. Doesn't matter what it is, what it looks like. If it does not align with the scriptures, which is the final authority for the believer, God says we're to abstain from it. God says we're not to cast our vote. God says we're not to endorse it. God says we're not to prop it up and have it to appear that we support that party or that person whose policies, hear me good and hear me well, that person's policies which will have an effect, whether positively or negatively, in our life. You may not like Donald Trump's mean tweets. You may not like his tone. You may not like how he talks. How he talks and what he tweets does not affect my life. But what he puts into policy or who he nominates and who he has in his office and his cabinet, that's what affects me. And that's what affects you. And vice versa for Kamala Harris. I pray to God that she never sets foot in the White House after January 2025. And I hope it's your prayer. And if it is your prayer, say in the chat, amen, if that's your prayer. On Facebook, say amen if that's your prayer. I hope you can touch and agree with me this evening that those of us who are godly, we're praying that God will stem the tide of the wicked, that God will stem the tide of evildoers, that God will not allow the wicked to take positions of office whereby it will affect us. Now, we're asking for God's mercy. We know we deserve his judgment. because our nation is stained with blood. Our nation has been having bloody hands since 1973. So we pray that the mercy of God will be upon us on behalf of his elect, on behalf of his godly ones, that he have mercy upon us for another 4 years. Because if you're like me, you've been groaning, you've been in pain, you've been doubled over financially. Been doubled over. But this is what happens when the wicked rule. And this is what happens when foolish people get behind the polls. This is what happens when uninformed people. This is what happens when we have people in our communities, in the black church, in the black community, and then we have eggshell walking white folk, white liberals, who, because they've been laden with white guilt, would rather lie to the black community and endorse candidates and people who they know seek our destruction. They're no different. You're no different than the black person who endorses the Al Sharptons. They're no different than the person who endorses the Kamala Harrises and so forth. They're no different. No different. Both are a threat to the black community. The white liberal and the sellout Negro. Both of them are. And it's sad that we even have in our midst people to this very day that will tell you and I, oh, anybody but Joe Biden, I mean, anybody but Donald Trump. That's why I had to vote for Joe Biden. Really? Then that shows me that you don't know your history. That shows me that you don't know anything about the policies that Joe Biden has put in place, which has never benefited the black community. Not one. Not one thing. Let alone his insults against black people, questioning our blackness should we decide whether or not we want to vote for him or Trump. Hello, the Breakfast Club. But he's been playing in the black community's face ever since he was a senator. But what do I know? I'm just one who likes to read and study history and provide receipts when necessary. But Joe Biden, he made it clear what his plans were when he got in office. He didn't lie per se when he said what he was going to do. He actually did it. His first 100 days was hell. So many executive orders that he wrote and that he signed, which took a negative course in our society and in every sector, in every sphere of society. This man's administration has been nothing but a bane and a burden and a blister on the American people. And so some of you may be happy that Kamala Harris is vice president and may possibly be president. I pray to God that that's not the case. But her being president or being vice president, being in the cabinet, on his cabinet, was a DEI pick. Yeah, diversity, equity, inclusion. He said it, not me. Joe Biden said it himself.
Diversity, equality, inclusion are literally, and that's not kidding, the core strengths of America. That's why I'm proud to have the most diverse administration in history. It taps into the full talents of our country. And starts at the top with the vice president.
It starts at the top with the vice president. Did you hear what he said? It starts at the top with the vice president. Diversity, equity, inclusion. So basically, he's filling a quota. So when you hear black people get offended because white politicians who are not afraid to tell the truth, saying that Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, a DEI pick, well, they're only saying it because Joe Biden said it. He said it. So why would people like Terry Anderson here at Lily Grove Baptist Church be offended when people call him a DEI, or people call her rather a DEI hire when Joe Biden himself actually said it?
And I can think of nobody who's better qualified to do this than this is a woman who ran the second largest Attorney General's office in America after the United States Attorney General in the state of California, and has done a great deal upholding human rights, but also fighting organized crime in the process. So it's not her full responsibility and job, but she's leading the effort, because I think the best thing to do is to put someone who, when he or she speaks, they don't have to wonder about, is that where the president is? When she speaks for me. When she speaks for me. When she speaks for me.
Did you hear what he just said? When she speaks for me. That sounds like she was in charge. That sounds like that Joe Biden left her in charge with something to do. I don't know, maybe I'm just reading into it, but let's see what else he says.
Doesn't have to check with me. Doesn't have to check with me. Doesn't have to check with me.
He does not have to check with him. So not only when she speaks for Joe, but she does not have to check in with Joe regarding what? Regarding what, Joe? Tell us.
She knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing. And I hope we can move this along. But, so, Madam Vice President, thank you. I gave you a tough job, and you're smiling. But there's no one better capable of trying to organize this.
After decades in law enforcement, I know the importance of safety and security, especially at our border. Last year, Joe and I brought together Democrats and conservative Republicans to write the strongest border bill in decades. The Border Patrol endorsed it. But Donald Trump believes a border deal would hurt his campaign. So
now y'all know she's lying, right? That wasn't the reason why. First of all, let's just go back for a second, because see, she'll have you and I think and believe that Trump was still in office. They've been in office for almost 4 years. Can we just start there and just stop the cap? How is it that Trump is responsible for something and he's been gone? He's been gone since January 20th, 2021. He's been gone. So here we are, almost 4 years later, and they're still putting the blame on Trump for a policy that, with the stroke of a pen, can be changed. We know that to be true because Joe Biden, when Trump had closed the border, what did Joe Biden do, class, when he got in office within the first 100 days? Actually, on day one, he opened the border. He didn't ask for congressional approval. He didn't ask for congressional consent. He opened the border. So what is Kamala talking about? Absolutely nothing. She's just lying and playing in our face once again.
he ordered his allies in Congress to kill the deal. Well, I refuse to play politics with our security, and here is my pledge to you. As president, I will bring back the bipartisan border security bill that he killed, and I will sign it into law. I know we can live.
Remember, she was the border czar, or quote unquote correction. She was in charge of overseeing and maintaining and managing the border and the influx of the border. This woman is such a liar, and this is why she's only going to have one debate, because of pressure. Trump wants to have 3 of them, but she's only agreeing to 1, and he's going on enemy territory. He's going to be in op territory debating this liar, because he wants the American people to see how much of a fraud and how much of a gaslighter she really is.
Up to our proud heritage as a nation of immigrants and reform our broken immigration system. We can create an earned pathway to citizenship and secure our border.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I mean, I don't understand the point that you're making.
How this woman tries to play. I mean, even Lester Holt has to call her out on her foolishness. I mean, it's just amazing to me. It's amazing.
Why not see what Americans are seeing in this crisis?
Well, we are going to the border. We have to deal with what's happening at the border. There's no question about that. That's not a debatable point. But we have to understand that there's a reason people are arriving at our border.
Yeah, what reason is it, y'all? What reason do you think it is? This woman is so full of it, she's constipated. I mean, it's just ridiculous. She hasn't been to Europe. What kind of stupid answer is that? Well, that's what happens when you make stupid statements. Stupid is what stupid does, right? And she's catching it on Twitter, or formerly X, as you can see.
Question and hold them up for a moment so people can see. Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
Notice her hand goes up. Y'all see that?
Okay.
Raise your hand if you think it should be a civil offense rather than a crime to cross the border without documentation. Can we keep the hands up so we could see them? The Obama-Biden administration deported more than 3 million Americans. My question to you is, if an individual is living in the United States of America without documents and that is his only offense, should that person be deported? Should someone who is here without documents and that is his only offense, should that person be deported? Senator Harris.
Well, thank you. I will say, no, absolutely not. They should not be deported. No, absolutely not. They should not be deported. No, absolutely not. They should not be deported. And I actually, this was one of the very few issues with which I disagreed with the administration, with whom I otherwise had a great relationship and a great deal of respect. But on the secure communities issue, I was Attorney General of California. I led the second largest Department of Justice in the United States, second only to the United States Department of Justice in a state of 40 million people. And on this issue, I disagreed with my president because the policy was to allow deportation of people who, by ICE's own definition, were non-criminals. So as Attorney General and the Chief Law Officer of the state of California, I issued a directive to the sheriffs of my state that they did not have to comply with detainers. I issued a directive to the sheriffs of my state that they did not have to comply with detainers. I issued a directive to the sheriffs of my state that they did not have to comply with detainers.
The bill also says, quote, every individual who is a resident of the United States is entitled to benefits for health care services under this act. Not every individual who's a citizen, but every individual who's a resident. So you support giving universal health care, Medicare for all, to people who are in this country illegally?
Listen.
Let me just be very clear about this.
Yeah.
I am opposed to any policy that would deny in our country any human being from access to public safety, public education, or public health, period.
Of course you are. Of course she is. And we know why. We know why. Did not Stephen A. Smith, although he's still going to vote for this woman, did he not put these people up on game? The reason why they're bringing these illegal aliens over here is, number one, so they can displace the black community, but also have these, as just as LBJ said in the 60s, have these niggas voting for voting Democrat for the next 200 years. Well, we got about another 140 years ago. I think LBJ may have been a prophet. But now they need a new batch. They need a new batch of niggas in here. They're gonna have Mexicans and you know, and other people that they bring in and give them money to break the law. Whereas law-abiding citizens, law-abiding black people in this community, born and raised, can't even get half of what these illegal aliens are getting, and they're getting it on our taxpayer dime. Yeah. So you heard her flip-flop. You heard her in her DNC speech talk about reforming the border. That's a lie. Y'all could have been done it. They don't want to do it. Their whole intention and their whole goal, if you remember, immigrants or illegal aliens, I don't like calling them immigrants. No, you're an illegal alien. I'm gonna call y'all what the old school politicians used to call y'all back in the days. What they would label you what you were, an illegal alien. And I'm gonna play receipts on what they were called. From the highest levels of government authority, label them illegal aliens. Not undocumented immigrants, not illegal immigrants. No, illegal aliens. You're foreigners. You don't belong here. You came over here breaking the law. You don't deserve anything but to be turned around and sent back where you belong. And that ain't being racist. That's not being racist at all. In fact, this type of policy affects black people who, by the way, people want to accuse Donald Trump of being racist, but you have other black people who agreed with Donald Trump and his immigration policy. This stuff was nothing new. It is now being reemerged and now coming out as though this is something that's foreign to our views and foreign to who we are as a country. No, it's not. No, it's not. But Trump, when he was in office, he shut down and closed the borders because it was the legal and right thing to do, because it adversely and disproportionately affects the black community, those who are law-abiding citizens, and the jobs that they work and that they have given their blood, sweat, and tears and toil for, only to now be lowballed by illegals coming in. But listen, you have to take my word for it, because it's all documented, and people like Peter Kirsanow, he gave a clear statement and research to show that when you have illegal aliens coming in and flooding our country, it does not affect the white community more than it does the black community.
Now we must implement an immigration system that will allow our citizens to prosper for generations to come. Today we are presenting a clear contrast. Democrats are proposing open borders, lower wages, and frankly, lawless chaos. We are proposing an immigration plan that puts the jobs, wages, and safety of American workers first.
Professor Briggs testified before the Civil Rights Commission. We had a whole host of people testifying before the Civil Rights Commission. The one cohort, the one demographic in the United States of America most harmed, most palpably harmed by illegal immigration are black Americans. And politicians, open borders politicians know this. They know.
Do y'all hear that? Let me run that back. Who does it affect again? Who does it affect again, Peter?
The Civil Rights Commission, the one cohort, the one demographic in the United States of America most harmed, most palpably harmed by illegal immigration are black Americans. And politicians, open borders politicians know this. They know this because there have been numerous hearings before Congress on this. I've testified in a number of these hearings. George Borjas has testified in a number of these hearings. Stephen Camarada has testified, and we've presented all of this evidence, all of this data, that the pernicious effect of illegal immigration, of open borders, has had on black Americans in terms of employment. Nearly 1 million fewer blacks work today because of the competition from illegal immigration than otherwise would be the case if we had a secure border.
Now, the numbers are higher than this, as you already will well know. But over 1 million. At the time that Peter Kirsanow was interviewed with on CNN, I mean on Fox, he tells you over 1 million. Over 1 million black jobs are affected when you have illegal aliens coming in and flooding our country.
It also depresses wage rates by a tune of $1,800 a year. George Borjas estimates that the depressive effects of illegal immigration on wages is anywhere from $99 billion to $118 billion annually, cumulatively, but it has the most significant effect on the black community.
Has a significant effect on the black community. In fact, the Center for Immigration Studies, because people will say, if you may have not heard this already, Biden's immigration policies are more effective than Trump's was. That's a lie. We all know it's a lie. We all know that's a straight up lie. Fact check. Reuters is wrong. Biden is not deporting more illegal aliens than Trump. Conflating returns and removals is a trick that Obama pulled too. A new article, this is July 10th of this year, a new article from Reuters is pushing a curious headline. Biden is now deporting more people than Trump. Americans paying attention to the Biden administration's destruction of immigration enforcement and the resulting mass illegal immigration likely assume they've misread the headline, and upon a second reading likely assume Reuters printed a typo. It turns out, unsurprisingly, that Reuters is simply misleading its readers. In fact, deportations have plummeted under the Biden administration, and criminal illegal aliens are some of the top beneficiaries of this administration's lawlessness. Yeah, tell us something we don't know. The Reuters article seems to be an attempt to help President Biden, whose polling on immigration is abysmal. It opens by stating that Biden, quote, has struggled with record numbers of migrants caught crossing the U.S.-Mexico border illegally, end quote, inferring that the unprecedented run on our border is outside his control and ignoring the fact that it is the direct result of the Biden administration's own anti-enforcement policies. To understand how Reuters makes the claim on Biden's deportations, it's necessary to understand the difference between a, quote, removal, end quote, conducted by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, you know, the organization that Kamala Harris wants to dismantle. Yeah, that one. Says that it is necessary to understand the difference between a removal conducted by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement and a return conducted by U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Generally, when we talk about deportations, we're talking about a removal, an arrest of an illegal alien processed by ICE and deported back to the alien's home country. When we talk about returns, we're generally talking about people apprehended near the border who are quickly pushed back, returned to Mexico within a matter of hours. And these returns are often the same people attempted to enter illegally multiple times. Just want you to see this. But look at near the bottom of the screen. Obama himself eventually admitted that the alleged high deportation numbers are actually a little deceptive, because what we've been doing is we've been apprehending folks at the border and sending them back. That is counted as a deportation, even though they may have only been held for a day or 48 hours, sent back. That's counted as a deportation. I still don't consider DHS immigration data produced under the Obama administration to be all that reliable or accurate on account of these politicized efforts. And I'll put this link in the video description for those who may want to read this again. But suffice it to say this. One thing we need to understand when it comes to this whole immigration situation, this whole immigration issue, Obama, when he was president, he deported more illegal aliens than Biden did. Yeah. And in fact, in one of the town hall meetings that he had back in 2009, just shortly after him becoming president, he caught the attention of people who came over into this country illegally, or either whose visas have expired, and did not realize that he was going to have an individual in his audience that was going to publicly opine and publicly respond and challenge his immigration policies regarding illegal aliens and those with expired visas.
If we get immigration reform across the finish line, and it is there, just within our grasp, if we can just get folks in Washington to go ahead and do what needs to be done, we're going to grow our economy, we're going to make our country more secure, we'll strengthen our families, and most importantly, we will live up. Most importantly, we will live up. Most importantly, we will live up to our character as a nation.
I need your help. There are thousands of
That's exactly what we're talking about. Yeah.
Every single day.
That's why we're here.
President, please use your executive order to halt deportations for all 11.5 undocumented immigrants in this country right now. We agree that we need to pass comprehensive immigration reform. At the same time, you have a power to stop deportation for all undocumented.
Actually, I don't. Now, what you need to know.
Now, he said, actually, he does not. That's a lie. We know that's a lie because we know that Obama did deport illegals and send them back. Listen. Back in 2014, when he ran again and won the election, those cages that people would accuse Trump of having these children locked in cages in these deportation cages, that was Obama. Those pictures were Obama in 2014. He was the president in 2014. Those cages, those children that y'all seen locked in those cages, that was Obama's doing. That wasn't Trump. But if you come over here illegally, that's what happens. So I don't blame or don't disagree with Obama when he was enforcing immigration. But just like most of these politicians, most of these establishment politicians, they backpedal and they do a 180 and they flip-flop. And so this young man that you hear heckling in the background, you'll see him shortly in a subsequent video. His family was deported. He's here illegally. His visa has expired. And he's challenging Obama regarding the immigration policy that he believes is unfair and inhumane.
When I'm speaking as President of the United States, and I come to this community, is that if, in fact, I could solve all these problems without passing laws in Congress, then I would do so. But we're also a nation of laws. That's part of our tradition.
Right.
And so the easy way out is to try to yell and pretend like I can do something by violating our laws. And what I'm proposing is the harder path, which is to use our democratic processes to achieve the same goal that you want to achieve. But it won't be as easy as just shouting. It requires us lobbying and getting it done. And if you're serious about making that happen, then I'm ready to work with you. But it is going to require work. It is not simply a matter of us just saying we're going to violate the law.
Now, I agree with Obama saying we're not going to just violate the law, let anybody in. But the young man is right. Obama, if he wanted to change immigration, if he wanted to have the borders to be closed or whatever, or even open, we know both are true. By the stroke of a pen, close the border. By the stroke of a pen, open the border. So this is how you had the DACA Act or whatever to be enacted, because Obama was getting pressure. And now you have these people that were undocumented immigrants or undocumented illegal aliens or whatever you want to call them. Now they've been given visas for 2 years for a process to become citizens in the country. And it was just a mess. But the young man is basically challenging Obama and saying, all you have to do is use your executive order, use your executive privilege. And Obama saying he can't do that. He doesn't have the power to do that, which we know is not true. It's a lie.
That's not our tradition. But the great thing about this country is we have this wonderful process of democracy, and sometimes it is messy and sometimes it is hard. But ultimately, justice and truth win out.
First of all, he is not violating the law because he has the power to stop deportation. He can use his executive order to stop deportation, and that is not violating the law. And I think that the law itself is wrong and currently inhumane. He is just using political talking points to not supporting undocumented immigrant family members. The fact of the matter is, DACA recipients have family members who are getting deported, and they're getting separated every single day. And so what he needs to do right now is to expand DACA for all 11.5 million undocumented immigrants.
This dude must have lost his mind. You must have hit your head. Now this is when Obama was president, so this is the early 2000s, right? You want over 11 million undocumented illegal aliens, or those who have their visas expired, to just be given carte blanche and just to come in? No, that's not how that goes, Playboy. That's not how that goes, player. No, sir. That's not how that goes. I would agree with Obama if he would have stood on business and held his political ground and said, no, we are a nation of laws. We're going to maintain the laws. You're over here illegally. You're going to be deported. Simple as that. You can't go to any other country and do this. But because America's policies are weak when it comes to immigration, this is what happens. And if you watch this young man's story, they were here illegally. When the reporter had asked, how did he get here? He gives his story. He's South Korean, gets the story about how they left their country, comes over here. They had got a visa. The visa expires. Mom knew about it. then tells the son when it's too late, and now they have to go back, and he was going to college or something like that, but he's here in the country. Now, I'm not sure what this young man's status is now, but you want people to break the law so you can stay here? No, that's not how that goes.
People. And that is the only way to reunite with the families, and that's the right way to solve our broken immigration system as we continue to pressure Congress to pass.
The system is only broken when people break the law and it's not enforced. That's when the system is broken, not when you maintain the law and you are consistent in making sure that when people violate the law, that there are consequences for doing such. Simple as that. It's not that hard.
Fair and just immigration reform.
This year, the Senate passed an immigration reform bill by a wide bipartisan majority, and it addresses the key issues that need to be addressed. It would strengthen our borders. It would level the playing field by holding employers accountable if they knowingly hire undocumented workers. It would modernize our legal immigration system so that we eliminate the backlog of family visas and make it easier to attract highly skilled entrepreneurs from beyond our borders. It would make sure that everybody plays by the same rules by providing a pathway to earn citizenship for those who are living in the shadows. A path that includes passing a background check and learning English and paying taxes and a penalty and getting in line behind it, everyone trying to come here the right way. And each of these pieces would go a long way towards fixing our broken immigration system. Each of them has been supported by Democrats and Republicans in the past. There's no reason we can't come together and get it done.
This is not going to be a free ride. It's not going to be some instant amnesty. What's going to happen is...
Now this is when he first got in office. Now, it was like, wow, so this is how you was really holding it down, right? Right, Obama? I mean, he was maintaining the law and saying, hey, you come over here, you're going to send you back. You're not going to cut in front of the line. I mean, he was standing on business. What happened? Well, we know what happened, ladies and gentlemen. We know what happens when these guys don't maintain and don't stand and be consistent and don't allow peer pressure to overtake them and bully them. But he was spot on here in 2009.
You are going to pay a significant fine. You are going to learn English. You are going to go to the back of the line so that you don't get ahead of somebody who was in Mexico City applying legally. But after you've done these things over a certain period of time, you can earn your citizenship. So that it's not something that is guaranteed or automatic. You've got to earn it, but over time, you give people an opportunity. Now, it only works, though, if you do all the pieces. I think the American people, they appreciate and believe in immigration, but they can't have a situation where you just have 500,000 people pouring over the border without any kind of mechanism to control it. They can't have a situation where you just have 500,000 people pouring over the border without any kind of mechanism to control it. They can't have a situation where you just have 500,000 people pouring over the border without any kind of mechanism to control it. So we've got to deal with that at the same time as we deal in a humane fashion with folks who have put down roots here, have become our neighbors, have become our friends. They may have children who are U.S. citizens. That's the kind of comprehensive approach that we have to take. All right?
Now, what changed? What changed? Now, people want to get on Trump as though Trump was the one that just started this whole deportation, started this whole close the border, started this whole sending people back if they violated the law, broke the law. No, it wasn't Trump. Obama did it. But guess who else? Guess who else was going hard in the paint when it came to illegal aliens coming over into our country and coming across our borders illegally?
All Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by cracking down on illegal hiring, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens.
In other words, don't give them nothing. Don't give them nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just like Barbara Jordan had said.
In the budget I will present to you, we will try to do more to speed the deportation of illegal aliens who are arrested for crimes, to speed the deportation of illegal aliens who are arrested for crimes, to speed the deportation of illegal aliens who are arrested for crimes.
And notice what he calls them, illegal aliens.
To better identify illegal aliens in the workplace as recommended by the commission headed by former Congresswoman Barbara Jordan. We are a nation of immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws. We are a nation of immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws. We are a nation of immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws. It is wrong and ultimately self-defeating for a nation of immigrants to permit the kind of abuse of our immigration laws we have seen in recent years, and we must do more to stop it.
He said it was an abuse. Huh. So what is it? If it was an abuse then under Clinton, then what is it now? I mean, come on. If it was abuse of illegal aliens coming into our country, and now they're now just giving a wide door, what is it now? I guess people were not expecting for individuals like myself to pull these kinds of receipts and just, you know, play them for your enjoyment and for your listening pleasure, huh? Now, let me also add this other point as we continue going on this journey. Because Kamala is black, you would think because a person is black, right? According to their logic, according to the liberal left-leaning individual and the black person who votes Democrat blindly and even sometimes just stupidly because of a person's pigmentation, regardless of their policies be damned. But for the mentality and the logic of a person that votes for individuals because they're black and would assume, listen, and would assume because they're black that would be a shoo-in for them to have better policies that will be catered, that will be tailored, that will be designed to benefit the black community, right? Right? According to Stephen A. Smith, according to Ricky Smiley, and others, you would think that that'll be the case, right? You would think also that when Obama became president and he was in office for those 8 years, that black people would have, the prosperity of the black community would have soared. We would have reached unprecedented heights as a society. We would have been on top of every economic and every financial and structural sector here in the country, right? Well, no, not really. In fact, y'all remember who Tavis Smiley is, right? Tavis Smiley, because of a statement that he made, was no longer invited to the cookout. Yeah, no longer invited to the cookout. His black card was revoked, him and Cornel West, because Tavis Smiley had the nerve at that time and the temerity and the unmitigated gall to publicly disagree and publicly come with the facts regarding the condition of the black community under the administration of Donald Trump. And here's what he said.
I'm sad to report that in every single leading economic category, Black America has lost ground over the last decade. In every major economic category, we've lost ground. Over these last 10 years, most of that on his watch, Black America has lost ground in the major economic indicator categories.
What accounts for the fact that that so little progress, or indeed the backsliding, what accounts for that going on under the leadership of the first African-American president? How do we explain that?
My research in this text suggests a few things in no particular order. Number one, there was too much deference to the president by black people. We got so caught up in the symbolism that we didn't press hard enough on the substance. And so symbolism does matter. I just think substance matters as well. And so there was too much deference in some part to the president on the part of black people. Black leaders were sidelined and silenced too often in favor of an invitation to the White House. And so more could have been done in terms of pressing an agenda. You look at the gay and lesbian community, look at the environmental movement. Of course, Wall Street gets everything they want, but look at what other communities gained over the last decade, and look how Black America wasn't just stagnant, but indeed lost ground over the last 10 years, in part, one, because we were too deferential. Number two, clearly there was indifference. There's no doubt about the fact that this president received the kind of headwind that no president has ever received. There was clearly obstructionism, so that's a factor as well. But the third factor, I think, I would put as a question. I think, again, historians would debate this for years to come. Did Barack Obama not get enough done on Black issues because he was obstructed, or did he not try hard enough? Did he not do enough? And I think the answer is clearly both. We'll see whether historians come down on that. But this book, again, is not about him per se. It's about where Black America is 10 years after that text. And again, it's just not a happy report. There are pockets of progress, but across the board, we've regressed.
Do you think when he reads your book, I'm assuming he will, that he'll agree with your conclusions, or do you think he'll take issue with them and see his legacy in a different way?
It's hard to argue with the data. This is not a book that I wrote and espouse my particular point of view. There'll be plenty of books written about whether Barack Obama measured up or didn't measure up where Black issues were concerned. If he wants to argue with the data, then so be it. But this book is data-based. Indiana University, the School of Public and Environmental Affairs, the academics there, the professors there who are trained in these disciplines wrote the book. They wrote the research, did the research rather, and wrote these 10 updated chapter segments on where we are 10 years later. So you can argue with me, but I'm not the guy who pulled the data. You can argue with the data, and I think you're not going to be very successful at that.
So he said, look, facts are facts. Feelings aren't facts. And we all know when Obama was president, yeah, the Black community was not any better than it was before he became president. If anything, it got worse. And like Tavis said, the alphabet community, they got their props. Every other sector in society benefited except the Black community. And this is what caused Tavis to be uninvited to future cookouts. Oh yeah. But just wanted to give you a little tour down memory lane a little bit. When it comes to this whole, because a person is Black, that automatically should be a shoe-in and a tie-in for us to be successful and prosperous and have it going on. No, nothing could be further from the truth. But as we continue talking about Kamala and her policies, because she's Black and because she's Black, she should automatically be placed into the White House, regardless of how her views are, regardless of her positions, regardless of what she believes and feels about social unrest, rioting, destruction of property. In fact, she tells viewers that rioters should never let up on them destroying and tearing up their communities.
I hope someone burns down your whole precinct with all y'all inside.
It is not, generally speaking, unruly.
And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
They're not going to let up, and they should not.
Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden's campaign staff have said they've donated to this type of cause. Even former Democratic presidential candidate and potential VP pick Kamala Harris took to Twitter to support the Minnesota Freedom Fund, writing.
Notice she's supporting rioters. Look at the text. Look at the tweet. On 6/1/20, Kamala asked you to bail out violent criminals by donating to the Minnesota Freedom Fund. 4 years later, she's now the hand-selected nominee of the Democrat elites, and the media is deflecting. Not only do we have her tweet, but here's TV coverage from the day after the one I'm playing right now. Notice, if you're able to, chip in now to the Minnesota Freedom Fund to help post bail for those protesting on the ground in Minnesota. This is who you want to have in office in the executive branch leading our country. This person.
If you're able to chip in now to the @MN Freedom Fund to help post bail for those protesting on the ground in Minnesota.
But not only that, let's continue on because we'll be all night. But let's talk about her position on abortion and how she lies on Trump and his position on abortion.
I believe America cannot truly be prosperous unless Americans are fully able to make their own decisions about their own lives especially on matters of heart and home.
Good.
But tonight, in America, too many women are not able to make those decisions. And let's be clear about how we got here. Donald Trump handpicked members of the United States Supreme Court to take away reproductive freedom. And now he brags about it. In his words, quote, "I did it and I'm proud to have done it," end quote. Well, I'll tell you, over the past 2 years, I've traveled across our country, and women have told me their stories. Husbands and fathers have shared theirs. Stories of women miscarrying in a parking lot, developing sepsis, losing the ability to ever again have children, all because doctors are afraid they may go to jail for caring for their patients. Couples just trying to grow their family, cut off in the middle of IVF treatments. Children who have survived sexual assault, potentially being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. This is what's happening in our country.
Can we talk about one particular fact that she refuses to acknowledge? 98% of most abortions and unaliving of innocent image bearers in the womb are not because of SA, not because of CM, you know what that is, child M, and it's not because of incest. That makes it less than 2%. So what happens to this other 98%? Who are the other 98% that's being represented in these abortuaries? We know who they are. They're the ones that were having their mobile centers in Chicago giving away free abortions and vasectomies. But I'll continue.
Because of Donald Trump. And understand, he is not done. As a part of his agenda, he and his allies would limit access to birth control, ban medication abortion, and enact a nationwide abortion ban with or without Congress. And get this, he plans to create a national anti-abortion coordinator and force states to report on women's miscarriages and abortions. Simply put, they are out of their minds. And one must ask, why exactly is it that they don't trust women? Well, we trust women. We trust women. And when Congress passes a bill to restore reproductive freedom, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law.
Now, PolitiFact did their research and fact-checking, and I'm just going to share what they reported. Let's see what does PolitiFact say about Kamala and her statement regarding abortion. Quote, Harris says that Trump plans to create a national anti-abortion coordinator and force states to report on women's miscarriages and abortions. Notice what it said. Mostly false. What Harris describes as Project 2025, although the 922 to be exact, 900-page policy manual makes such recommendations, it isn't Trump's plan. How many times we got to say that? All you got to do is go to DonaldTrump.com. Agenda 47 is not Project 2025. But technically, there's nothing wrong with Project 2025 if you read it, for the most part. It's just not his. The project, led by Conservative Heritage Foundation, contains proposals for the next Republican administration and got input from dozens of Trump allies. But Trump and his campaign have repeatedly said they were not involved in the project, and Trump is not listed as an author, is not listed as an author, editor, or contributor. Project 2025 doesn't mention a national anti-abortion coordinator. This is PolitiFact, y'all. The document calls for a, quote, pro-life politically appointed senior coordinator of the Office of Women, Children, and Families, end quote. It says the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Abortion Surveillance, and Maternal Mortality reporting systems are inadequate and proposes withholding federal money from states that don't report to the CDC how many abortions take place in their states. Because what happened? The Supreme Court ruled that Roe v. Wade, number one, is done away with from a federal standpoint, and now the states, it is up to states now to determine whether or not they want abortion to be allowed in their state, as it should have been before. It also states, the document calls for Health and Human Services Department to use every available tool, including cutting of funds to ensure that every state reports exactly how many abortions take place within its borders, at what gestational age of the child, for what reason, the mother's state of residence, and by what method, end quote. It also says that the statistics should be separated by category, including spontaneous miscarriage treatments that incidentally result in fetal death, such as chemotherapy, stillbirths, and induced abortion. In an April interview with Time magazine, Trump said some states, quote, might, quote, and choose to monitor and punish women for illegal abortions. But when asked about the topic, he told the reporter to, quote, speak to the individual states about it. How is that mandating? How is that him signing into law banning abortions federally? If you know anything about government and anything about civics, if you did not sleep and if you were not trying to make out with your girl in the locker room or under the bleachers during government period time, you would know that there is a statement called checks and balances, right? Or balance of powers that the founders established to make sure that each branch is equally accountable to the other, that there's an overlap, that there's an overlay of authority and responsibility. That means that the executive branch can't just do whatever it wants to do. That means the judicial branch can't do whatever it wants to do, because the executive and the judicial would put them in check, and vice versa. But what Kamala does, she plays on the minds of the ignorant and the naive. She continues on. As part of his agenda, she says he and his allies will limit access to birth control, ban medication abortion, and enact a nationwide abortion ban with or without Congress. Harris's predictive multi-part claim exaggerates Trump's abortion agenda by tying him to Project 2025's allies and misleading about some of the document's scope. This is all propaganda, ladies and gentlemen, that these people are doing. Kamala Harris and the rest of them, and on it goes. But she's lying about it. She's lying about it, and then she continues on in her lies about Project 2025 further in her quote unquote speech.
We know what a second Trump term would look like. It's all laid out in Project 2025.
You see what she does? It's all laid out in Project 2025. Never mind Agenda 47, because see, Agenda 47 tells you clearly what Trump is going to do, and it's not illegal, it's not unconstitutional, it's not immoral or anything. This woman acts as though 4 years of Trump was hell on earth, and what we're experiencing now under her and Biden was just heaven on earth and sheer bliss. Girl, please.
Written by his closest advisors, and its sum total is to pull our country back to the past. But America, we are not going back. We are not going back. We are not going back. We are not going back to when Donald Trump tried to cut Social Security and Medicare.
He never tried to do that. That's another lie, but continue.
Are not going back to when he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah, you know why? You know why he should have repealed and replaced it? Because it was illegal from the beginning. Yeah, y'all do know that Obamacare was a tax that they tried to guise as health care. How many of y'all remember that? How many of y'all remember Obama saying, if you like your health care, if you like your health insurance, you can keep it? Do y'all remember? Does anybody remember Obama saying that when he tried to push that? And actually, they pushed it. They pushed it in Congress. And do y'all also remember Nancy Pelosi saying, well, in order for us to approve it? No, she said, in order for the law to be passed, we have to pass the law first before we read it. That's what she said. We got to pass the law. We got to pass the bill before we can read it. What? I'm telling y'all, these people have been playing in our face for decades. But let's continue. Let's continue.
When insurance companies could deny people with pre-existing conditions.
Now, what happened, it was a penalty. If you did not have insurance, they would fine companies for not having Obamacare as an option. Oh, listen, 50 employees or more, that was the law. That was the rule. And when it went to the Supreme Court ruled that Congress has the right to levy taxes.
We are not going to let him eliminate the Department of Education that funds our public schools.
Well, yeah, I agree with that part. He should. Yeah. Listen, Department of Education. Yeah, just gut it. I would agree 100% with Trump if he were to do that. He definitely did say that. He sure did. And you know why he said that? Because of the sexualization, because of the indoctrination of CRT and the woke culture. That's why. And I would agree 100% if he were to do that. I sure would.
We are not going to let him end programs like Head Start that provide preschool and child care for our children. America, we are not going back.
Look at the camera spot. Little baby. And you see how they try to play? Y'all see how they try to play? But she continues on in her attacks against Trump. I mean, this whole thing, this whole convention, I would call it a convention, was all about Trump. I mean, he was mentioned more than anybody else. More lies were said about him. But again, this is the reason why she does not want to have more than one debate. And I pray to God that he drags her worse than he did Joe Biden, because the only reason why Joe Biden is now sent away and sent home, and now he's a lame duck, was because of that debate. Because they tried to hide him for so long, try to hide his cognitive deterioration for so long that he couldn't hide it. And they wish to God they did, and that's why they're trying to do it now with Kamala. They don't want to see her engaging anybody in any type of Q&A, even amongst her own friendly mainstream or lamestream media. Nope. They give her the opportunity to preach and to spit lies unchecked because they can. That's why. Just like she did regarding January 6th.
Donald Trump tried to throw away your votes. When he failed, he sent an armed mob to the United States Capitol, where they assaulted law enforcement officers. When politicians in his own party begged him.
That did the assaulting? Who's the one that did the assaulting? These people, and listen, I'm not for rioting at all, but they didn't have any weapons. They didn't have any weapons at all. And the woman that went in to the Capitol, she was shot by Capitol police. They didn't have any weapons. They didn't have any guns. They didn't beat up any cops. In fact, if you watch the footage that they was trying to have Tucker Carlson to have removed, they're being escorted right in. These people, this woman is, these people have you believe that they were being mobbed and cops were being beaten down. The only person who lost their life was, I believe, Ashley Babbitt. I believe she's the only individual throughout this whole ordeal unfortunate as it was, who was shot and killed. But the rest were ushered in by security, by Capitol Hill police. They were ushered in. But they didn't want us to see that. So what she's saying is a complete lie, all cap.
To call off the mob and send help, he did the opposite. He fanned the flames. Consider his explicit intent to set free violent extremists who assaulted those law enforcement officers at the Capitol.
Assaulted.
His explicit intent to jail journalists, political opponents, and anyone he sees as the enemy. His explicit intent to deploy our active duty military against our own citizens. Consider the power he will have, especially after the United States Supreme Court just ruled that he would be immune from criminal prosecution. Just imagine Donald Trump with no guardrails.
Yeah, like Biden.
And how he would use the immense powers of the presidency of the United States. Not to improve your life, not to strengthen our national security, but to serve the only client he has ever had, himself.
Now do y'all see why this woman does not want to have anyone interview her and check her on the things that she has said? Can you imagine if she were to have just a little bit of courage and say, you know what, I'll have an open debate, I'll have it live with whoever, no script, no teleprompter, no nothing. She's not going to do that. And have these statements that she made fact checked. I'm telling you, I cannot wait. I believe it's September is it September the 4th? I think it's what it is. I think that's the first debate. Or September 4th. I know it's sometime in September. Somebody look it up and find out what their first debate is. But I know it is in September. Right before Trump's sentencing, which I pray that he doesn't go to jail or prison for these lies. But anyway, but now you see why it's so easy. Thank you, September 10th. Thank you. Now you see why it is so easy for her to make these statements unchallenged and unchecked, because nobody will push back on it and they'll just believe it. And listen, that's the majority of the black community. That's the majority of the black church, because people are not being equipped and don't know where to go. And if the mainstream media is your primary source of where you get information, then God help you. And this is why people will believe that Trump was involved in this in the January 6th riot. They will have these people to believe that because the mainstream media says that, and won't have you to research and do your own homework and hear exactly what Trump said, like this.
Down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down. We're going to walk down anyone you want, but I think right here we're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women, and we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them, because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength, and you have to be strong. We have come to demand that Congress do the right thing and only count the electors who have been lawfully slated.
Listen to what Trump said. This is going to repeat itself somewhere else later in this live, okay? Trump is demanding that only the votes that have been counted, that have been rightly counted and electively counted be considered valid in this process. That's it. Run it back again, Trump. What did you say?
and only count the electors who have been lawfully slated.
Only
lawfully
electors
slated.
have been lawfully slated.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
Say what?
To peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
Say
To
again?
peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
To peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Can someone tell me, how does that sound like insurrectionist language? Anybody? Does that sound like insurrectionist language to you? Do not people have a right to peacefully and patriotically protest? I'm not talking about what we saw during the Summer of Love. No. I'm not talking about that. You know, Chris Fredo Cuomo said, show him anywhere in the Constitution where protesting has to be peaceful. Remember he said that? Remember he said that? He said, show him anywhere in the Constitution where protests have to be peaceful. And he wasn't charged with inciting violence in 2020. But here Donald Trump is saying clearly encouraging people to exercise their rights under the Constitution to redress injustices by peacefully and patriotically protesting. Run it back again, Mr. Trump.
Slated, lawfully slated. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. To peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. To peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Today we will see whether Republicans stand strong for integrity.
Do you see that? Again, show me anywhere where he incited a riot, incited violence, spoke in insurrectionist language or tone, to where now the left, the Democrats, and particularly Nancy Pelosi, they move with breakneck speed to try to write up articles of impeachment against Trump. Why? Because they did not want him to go a second term. But thanks be to God, because his defense team used the very receipts that they had to try to use against Trump, and they just let it fly. I mean, it was a beautiful sight to behold, where during this whole impeachment proceedings, all this defense attorney did, Trump's defense attorney and defense team did, was just play videos of these Democrats, these Democrats, the left, these wicked politicians in positions of power and authority, hear them play in their own words, using insurrectionist speech, violence, and also an attempt to thwart the process of verified elections.
You claim that it's wrong to object to the certification of election results. You, along with your allies in the media, attempted to cancel and censor members of this chamber who voiced concerns and objected to certification. Manager Raskin, you'd been in Congress only 3 days when you objected in 2017. It's one of the first things you did when you got here.
I have an objection because 10 of the 29 electoral votes cast by Florida were cast by electors not lawfully certified.
Is the objection in writing and signed not only by the member of the House of Representatives, but also by a senator?
Do y'all see who this is? January 6, 2017, they're trying to do the very thing that Trump did, and Trump had every right to do it. Because Trump believed, as well as others, that there were irregularities and injustices with this election in 2020. Yeah. So the very thing that they're trying to charge Trump with doing, they did it in 2017 when Trump beat Hillary Clinton. And Joe Biden, vice president at the time, has the authority to either hold to what the Constitution says regarding entertaining debates, which under the articles of the Constitution, in hearing electorate votes, and the counting of electoral votes is not room for debate. And this is why Biden is about to do what you're about to see now.
It is in writing, Mr. President.
Is it signed by a senator?
Not as of yet, Mr. President.
In that case, the objection cannot be entertained.
Mr. President, I object to the certificate from the state of Georgia on the grounds that the electoral votes were not...
There's no debate.
I object to a certificate from the state of North Carolina based on violations of the Voting Rights Act.
There's no debate in the joint session.
I object because people are horrified by the overwhelming evidence.
Section 18, Title III of the United States Code prohibits debate.
I object. Objected to the counting of the electoral votes of the state of Ohio.
No, these are all Democrats. You see this? All Democrats.
I object to the certificate from the state of Alabama. The electors were not lawfully certified.
I object to the 15 votes from the state of North Carolina because of the massive voter suppression and the closing of voting.
Voter suppression, she's trying to say, huh, Sheila Jackson Lee? I'm going to say something. I'm going to shut up. Let me continue. I'm going to try to stay safe.
Polling booths.
There's no debate. There's no debate.
16
There's
to 1.
No debate.
And the massive voter suppression that occurred to African Americans.
The gentleman was suspended.
I have an objection to the electoral votes.
The objection is in writing, and I don't care that it is not signed by a member of the Senate.
Do you hear this? Do you see this? Do you see her? Mad Maxine? Do you see her? I'm waiting for her to go too.
I do not wish to debate. I wish to ask, is there one United States senator who will join me in this letter
There's
of
no
objection?
debate.
The objection is signed by a member of the House, but not yet by a member of the Senate.
Well, it is over.
When Republican candidates for office claim an election is stolen or that the winner is illegitimate.
Now listen to this now. You got Democrats saying that the 2016 election was stolen. And the mainstream media, big tech, YouTube, Facebook, none of them flagged any videos, removed any content, didn't strike any channels, not one time. They allowed the content, they allowed people to comment, they allowed people to say whatever they wanted to say regarding Trump being an illegitimate president, regarding Trump not winning the election fair and square, all of that. What changed? You tell me.
It constitutes inciting an insurrection, and the candidate should know it. But Democratic Party candidates for public elective office are perfectly entitled to claim the election was stolen, or that the winner is illegitimate, or to make any other outrageous claim they can. It is their absolute right to do so. And it is their absolute right to do so, irrespective of whether there's any evidence to support the claim. Democratic candidates can claim that an election was stolen because of Russian collusion or without any explanation at all, and that is perfectly okay and is in no way incitement to an insurrection. And somehow, when Democratic candidates publicly decry an election as stolen or illegitimate, it's never a big lie.
Never.
You've been doing it for years.
But can you imagine telling your supporters,
Democrats,
that the only way you could possibly lose is if an American election was rigged and stolen from you? And ask yourself whether you've ever seen anyone at any level of government make the same claim about their own election.
If Stacey Abrams doesn't win in Georgia, they stole it. It's clear. It's clear. And I say.
Do you see that? Listen. They're not going to court. Listen, y'all, they didn't go to court. They weren't forced or faced with jail time. They weren't forced or faced with losing their bar license for defending their rights and beliefs regarding the presidential election. Not one time. Does anybody remember watching any of this stuff? If this is your first time even hearing or seeing this, put up a 1 if you have, or a 2 if you have not. A 1 if you've seen it before, a 2 if this is your first time you've never seen this. Because this was what was going on. They were verbally saying that the 2016 election was stolen. But God help you if you uttered that the 2020 election was stolen. God help you if you were to say anything, make any videos about this. and questioning, not even questioning and saying that the election was stolen. My channel, I have a strike on my channel right now because of my position on the election and my views regarding the jab. And you want to talk about we live in a country where free speech is a right? Not if it's social media. Not as long as big tech is not as long as the protections are given to these big tech companies and mainstream media. They can say what they want, provided they're on the left. But if you are a conservative, let alone a Christian conservative, and you're making content like mine, this is why I'm encouraging you all to support this channel. Don't send me super chats anymore. Send me gifts through the donations that are on the bottom of the video, because these people are doing everything they can to silence and shut down and shut the mouths of those who are standing for the truth. Trust me. And thank God for the Twitter. Thank God for the Twitter files. Thank God for Elon Musk being now over Twitter, and we saw the wickedness and the deception that these people were putting upon the American people, and particularly those of us who are Christian content creators, and just trying to reveal the truth and preach the truth. But this man clearly said he said it's stolen. I don't care what anybody says. If she loses, it's because it was stolen.
That publicly, it's clear.
You can run the best campaign.
Look at this. What'd you say, Hillary? What'd you say, Hillary?
And I say that publicly, it's clear.
You can run the best campaign. You can even become the nominee. And you can have the election stolen from you.
He knows he's an illegitimate president. He knows that there were a bunch of different reasons why the election turned out the way it did.
Votes remain to be counted. There are voices that were waiting to be heard.
And I will not concede.
And I respect where you're coming from, and I respect the issues that you're raising. You're not answering the question. Do you think it was... You're not using the word legitimate.
There are still legitimate concerns over the integrity of our elections and of ensuring the principle of one person, one vote.
I agree with tens of millions of Americans who are very worried that when they cast the ballot on an electronic voting machine, that there is no paper trail to record that vote.
Do y'all see this? Look who the people that are talking about election interference. They even did it in 2000 with Al Gore and George Bush. Remember the hanging Chad situation? I don't know if anybody is like me, but I agree with Trump 100%. There should be one-day voting, paper ballots, and I do mean no, under no circumstances, absentee voting. Nope. Mail-in ballots. Nope. Get to the poll best way you can. Listen, you can't get a driver's license. You got to, at least the last I checked, at least in Texas, you can't get no driver's license unless you go to the DMV. They're not gonna let you have a license. You don't take a road test. They want to see your face. They want to verify that it's you for right now. So you mean to tell me that it is easier for you and I to cast a vote for something that's going to affect our lives and for generations to come? But you have to be in person to get a driver's license. You got to be in person to even be married. I'm just saying. You're not going to convince me that the 2020 election was fair if these people are saying in 2016 that it wasn't, and we have every reason to believe and to know that the 2016 was more fair and legitimate because no one was expecting for Trump to win. Hello? But they wasn't going to let that happen again in 2020. That's just based on the information. So we got Bernie Sanders saying, "Hey, let's play it back again. Let's let's play it back again for a second. Are y'all all right? I don't want to take too much of y'all time. Forgive me, but I think this is important because some of you are going to go to the polls and you're going to cast your vote for a person who you think cares about your community and cares about you, and this woman does not. I'm sorry. She doesn't. She doesn't. I mean, it's she has a track record, proven history that she doesn't give a crap about the black community or any community except her own. But Bernie Sanders, he claims to be an independent, but Bernie Sanders is a Democrat. He is a socialist and a Marxist. And he has an issue regarding the election in 2004.
With tens of millions of Americans who are very worried that when they cast the ballot on an electronic voting machine, that there is no paper trail to record that vote.
But constantly shifting vote tallies in Ohio and malfunctioning electronic machines, which...
Malfunctioning electronic machines. You mean like maybe Dominion? You mean like maybe possibly the same electronic voting machines that people were questioning were malfunctioning and not tallying the votes in 2020, so much so when people were speaking out against it, and particularly on Fox. Now Fox is sued and lost millions of dollars just because they believe that the election was not legit based on their statement.
May not have paper receipts, have led to additional loss of confidence by the public. This is their only opportunity to have this debate while the country is listening, and it is appropriate to do so.
Interesting, isn't it? Amazing what happens when you have receipts. You know, we all know it. The internet never forgives, and the internet never forgets. But what else do we know about Kamala, right? I mean, you know, because she's black, we should vote for her regardless of what her views are regarding, you know, abortion, because, you know, she's a Christian, right?
Kamala Harris is just as bad. You know, Rachel, she has been pro-abortion from the get-go. When she was the governor, when she was the attorney general of California, she was advocating to get pregnancy resource centers that are pro-life to post abortion ads in their clinics. She went after David Daleiden, the pro-life journalist, to try to put him in jail for exposing Planned Parenthood selling baby body parts. It's absolutely horrific how she not only wants abortion on demand, but she wants to throw pro-lifers in jail who are investigating the abortion facilities or protesting them. So we are dealing with the most pro-abortion ticket in American history.
And by the way, the botched abortion baby stuff, they call it, when they left those babies to die, they call it comfort care. It is the most evil euphemism for leaving a struggling infant who was born alive to just die. It's so unbelievable. And you're right, what Kamala Harris did in California, she took campaign money from Planned Parenthood and used her office to go after pro-lifers in highly unconstitutional ways.
Yeah, Kamala Harris is going to, and she has trampled on the First Amendment. She does not care about freedom of speech for pro-life Americans. If you're her political enemy, she's going to attack you. That's what she's proven in her track record. So she's a danger to every single American's First Amendment freedoms. And then in addition, she's a danger to every American child because they and her partner now, her running mate, Tim Walz, they do not see these as human beings. You can do whatever you want to the unborn child. You can kill them until birth. And if they survive after birth, just leave them to die. This is their platform, and we must stand against it.
Yeah, I mean, because, you know, all you have to do is if she's in church, you know, that makes her a Christian, right? Because she can quote or read scripture, that makes her a Christian, right?
To really be true to the teachings of Christ, one must think of our faith as a verb. Jesus is telling us then about, yes, we must love thy neighbor, but let's define and be clear about who is our neighbor.
And so when we think about justice, let's also remember all the prophets spoke about justice. They spoke about it, Proverbs 31:9. Speak up for the poor and the helpless, and see that they get justice.
And when Congress passes a law to restore reproductive freedoms, as President of the United States, I will sign it into law.
3 bills signed into Minnesota law.
One is long. They're all long overdue.
One of them protects people seeking or providing abortions.
We are witnessing a full-on attack against hard-fought, hard-won freedoms and rights. Take reproductive freedom. Well, Tim and I have a message for Trump and others who want to turn back the clock on our fundamental freedoms. We're not going back. We're not going back. And so let me say about Tim Walz, he has shown up to stand against these attacks long before he stood on the stage with me. After Roe was overturned, he was the first governor in the country to sign a new law that enshrined reproductive freedom as a fundamental right. You know, we have to stay woke. Like, everybody needs to be woke. And you can talk about if you're the wokest or woker, but just stay more woke than less woke.
Do you ever wonder what's so funny to this woman that she's laughing almost every time she's speaking? But, hey, listen, y'all, maybe Planned Parenthood and those who are pro-life advocates, you know, may think that Kamala is dangerous, but we know the beloved Bishop Wooten, he has his thoughts about her as well, too.
These people have an agenda, and their agenda, one of the things, is to get rid of the church. To get rid of the church, to have abortion on demand, to the promotion of all things LGBTQ. You know, Kamala Harris, she's running for the vice presidency. I call her Miss Lock Up a Brother, for when she was the AG in California, a Negro knew, a black man knew that he was dead in the water. He was dead in the water. Matter of fact, you don't need a trial. You might well go into jail if you appear before her, because she took pride in locking up black folk. And now all of a sudden she's trying to be sister girl. I'm telling it. Check out her record. She locked us up left and right. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Yes, you did, Kamala, however I should pronounce it, you did. And now we're supposed to forget all that stuff. And she boasted in California that she was one of the first. I got the tape queued, but my time's up today. One of the first I showed you Thursday night to perform a same-sex marriage. Y'all want to see it? You want to see it?
Now, when do you know a true Christian perform same-sex quote-unquote marriages? What Christian you know does that? Well, let's see.
Let it rip.
Let the rings exchanged and the vows declared symbolize your commitment, sincerity, and affection.
Yeah.
And may your love never falter. By virtue of the power and authority vested in me by the state of California, I now declare you spouses for life.
That man and wife.
Cut. Now that is who's supposed to deliver us. Now, are you crazy? I like what Maya Angelou says. She said, when the people show you who they are, believe them. That's Kamala. And let me tell you, anybody who's trying to turn America into Sodom and Gomorrah is not good for the nation, she's not good for the state, and she ain't good for black folk.
Ain't good for black folk. A to the man. But hey, listen now. Listen. Bishop Wooden just said that. He said that she ain't good for black folk. Now, it's one thing when a preacher says it, but what would you say if Kamala herself said that she ain't no good or beneficial only for the black community.
I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm gonna do something that's only gonna benefit black people. No.
Somebody asked her, what are y'all going to do for black people? And she said, we can't pass laws just for black people. She said this, we can't do things just for black. Well, Kamala Harris, can I ask you a question, Madam Vice President? If the Democratic Party can't do anything just for black people, why did y'all pass a law only for Asians? Why did y'all pass a law only for Native Americans? Why did y'all pass a law only for transgenders? Why did y'all pass a law only for LGBTQs? Why did y'all pass a law only for immigrants? If you can't do anything just for black people, this is what she said. It came out of her mouth. If you can't do anything just for black people, how was it possible for you and President Biden to do all these other things for specific ethnic groups in this country from whose benefit no other group can take anything from?
It's the trip when you have people who are not saved spit more truth than professing Christians who should know the truth and should promote the truth and should be exposing those who oppose the truth, like Terry Anderson and others, Jamal Bryant and others, Bishop J. Drew Sheard and others who are with her. And here this man exposes this woman who clearly says, I'm not going to make a law, or I'm not just going to do something that benefits only black people. No. But she did it for every other people group, every other social strata and sphere. But here's another question I want to ask. If she cared so much about the black community, I'm just, and for those who may be watching and you're still riding with Kamala and you still support her, why would you support someone who does not show you and give reason why you should support her? I mean, I remember when Trump went to the National Association for Black Journalists. I mean, he's talking about going into the belly of the beast. He goes into Democrat territory like a boss, and was told that Kamala was supposed to be there, and she didn't show up. But he speaks to the black community, knowing most of them there can't stand him and have been taught and indoctrinated to hate him and don't care about his policies that will help benefit them. But he goes into that place expecting to see Kamala there, and she didn't show up. But yet he still stood on business. He still stood there, took the questions, took the shots, lobbied some and volleyed some back. And he's proven himself to care for the black community. But why didn't Kamala show up to the event? I mean, if there was a time for her to show up to an HBCU or an association where people of her skin color or her quote unquote identification, because she claims to be black, but we know she's not. But why not show up there? Why would you not show up at the NABJ? Well, we know why. We know why, don't we? But she was so busy proving her blackness with quote unquote Uncle Luke that you tell me, when he asked her the question about how do you respond to people who question whether or not you're black, you tell me how or what you hear does that certify her being black, certify her identifying as a quote unquote African American or a black woman, and if it does, then I need to get my hair in check.
When you're campaigning and you're doing your strategies and everything, and you're trying to prove to African American women that you're black enough, and African American men that you're black enough, you know who Kamala is. Yeah. You've been you forever.
Yeah, right.
And you lived a life, and you lived in the neighborhood. You went to the black university.
Yeah. And listen to what this sellout coon says. He's doing the same thing Steve Harvey did, throwing these lives. You lived in a black community. You went to black colleges. You know who else went to a black college? Same college as she did. Rachel Dolezal. But maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me shut up.
you live the life as an African American. To have people question that, how you really
That's
feel
a great
about that?
question. It's very frustrating. That's a great question.
Now, it's a great question. Let's see if she gives a great answer.
Because to your point, exactly to your point, Uncle Luke, it is, I know who I am. I was raised to have pride. I mean, I could go on and on about who I am, right? But and
go ahead then. Here's your opportunity. The man asks you, "What do you say when people question your blackness and says you're not black?" You would think she would say, "Listen, if somebody, that's like somebody asking me, say, go people questioning whether or not you're black, and we're talking about black from a social construct, right? Look, my dad is black, my mom is black. My dad was born in Franklin, Louisiana. My mom was born in Chicago, Illinois. I'm black. My parents black. My siblings are black. I may have some other ethnicities in my family tree, but I identify as black because this is the family. You can see my family. You can see my dad. My dad is darker than me. My mother is light. I think my mother is almost lighter than Kamala is. Maybe just one shade less. But I'm a black man. That would be easy to answer, wouldn't it not? Would it not? But notice what she does. She said that's an excellent question. We waiting on an excellent answer. Let's see if she gives us one, y'all.
and who I was born as, not just who I became. It wasn't like some process of enlightenment. Like this has not been a process of discovery for me. You know, in fact, I think the frustration is that other people want me to take them through their process of discovery.
Exactly.
We just want you to tell us the truth. That's all. Those who are questioning and challenging us by challenging you, this is your opportunity. This is your moment. This is your shot, Kamala. Let's go.
Exactly.
About trying to understand it.
Right.
And it's a challenge. I mean, but this is look, all of us who have become the first, you know, part of the challenge is that people have their boxes about who people are. It's in their mind. They have this set of boxes, and they're trying to figure out which one do you fit into, right? But the number of boxes they have is limited to whatever they've seen before, usually, right? If I use this phrase, just close your eyes for a moment and then think about what you see.
Okay.
The boy next door. For most of America, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Right? It's the boy next door. 4 words speak volumes about the age, the look, the character of who we're talking
about. You hear this girl?
You're right about
it. You hear her?
Yep.
What 4 words would immediately let you know about who I am? It's not in the vocabulary.
It's not. When people question your blackness, you were on that bus, you were part of the civil rights movement.
She was not a part of the civil rights movement. I already talked about that in part 1. She was born in 1964, October 20th, 1964. January 1965, MLK has an interview with Playboy magazine. And he gives a story of a little girl being accosted by a cop. And the little girl, who was 7 years old at the time, said that she wanted freedom. You know what Kamala said that she was? She said that her mama and daddy was marching during the civil rights movement in 1965. Kamala was three months old when this incident occurred. And she said that she fell out of her stroller. Parents lost her, discovered that they didn't have their baby. She goes back and says, "Baby, what do you want?" And supposedly Kamala says in her book, I said at the age of 3 months, freedom. FWEEDOM. This woman was not a part of the civil rights movement. Civil rights era ended in 1968. Her busing situation occurred in the 70s. This woman is so full of it.
But the struggle is convincing people that this is a strong black woman who lives a strong black life, and why is there any question?
You're right. It's frustrating. There was this one journalist who said to me, I'm doing this interview, and he says, well, you have family members that went to Stanford and Harvard, but you chose to go to Howard. No, elite schools like Stanford, but you chose to go to Howard. Now, you know I was ready to hang this thing up.
Right.
I was literally, I was about to go off, which would not have been cool, because I'm trying to get elected.
Yeah. But you went to Howard.
But they went to these elite schools, and you went to, and I said, well, you do know that Howard University is the Mecca.
That Howard University is the Mecca. Okay. All right. Okay. Howard University. Oh, look. Guess who else went to Howard? HBCUs ain't handing out black cards. Rachel Dolezal plus fake blackness or faux blackness. If you've been using Rachel Dolezal's matriculation at Howard University, one of the nation's oldest and most prestigious historically black colleges and universities, HBCUs is what they call it, as a measure of her trans blackness, stop. Just stop. Attending an HBCU doesn't make a person black any more than eating apple pie makes one American. Must it really be explained that while blackness is many things, it is not a certification received along with a diploma at commencement? If it is, this editorial is my formal request for Vanderbilt University, where I spent twice as much time in graduate school than I did at undergrad at Fisk, to send my long overdue white card. Oh, but attending Vanderbilt doesn't make me white now, does it? Even though my paternal ancestry, which I am told has roots in Italy by way of Cuba, is probably white, I ain't white. Even though I once mistook my whitish grandfather standing proudly next to his golden retriever for one of those generic black and white images used to sell a photo frame, I ain't white. I ain't white because I don't look white. I've long said in this experience, you are who and what they put the APB out for. I'm going to post this link also in the description, but I just want you to see what this editor was saying regarding Rachel Dolezal. Because remember, Rachel Dolezal for years passed as black until she got exposed. Just saying. I'm going to read this part again, what she just said. If you've been using Rachel Dolezal's matriculation at Howard University, one of the nation's oldest and most prestigious historically black colleges and universities, as a measure of her trans blackness, because remember, Kamala said Howard is Mecca. Okay. What does that mean? What does that mean? The writer here says attending an HBCU doesn't make a person black any more than eating apple pie makes one American. I mean, it should not have to be stated, but some people need to hear the truth. As Brother Malcolm X famously said, because a cat has kittens in an oven, it don't make them biscuits, end quote. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. My goodness. My goodness. But people will still claim that this woman is black, right? They'll still say that she's black. But there is hope for some people. There is hope for some people, because there are some of us who are not following and are not buying it. It's a small remnant, y'all. It's a small remnant, but a remnant nonetheless. People's reaction to Kamala Harris and her views and her positions and a lot of the speeches she gave, mixed bag, but it's sometimes refreshing to know that there's maybe one or two people that say, "Nah, I'm not buying it. Don't sell it. Don't sell it."
I was looking to hear more about policy. I think a lot of us were. And so I didn't hear a lot about policy as I would have liked.
I didn't hear the things from an economical standpoint that I was looking for. My main question here is that if you happen to get back in office for another 4 years, what are you going to do? You're going to rinse and repeat here. We all pay the exact same for gas and for food. You have families living from paycheck to paycheck. Some can't even make it to paycheck to paycheck.
Anthony, do you believe the polls that show that Black men in a substantial way are shifting to former President Trump?
I was in the barbershop today, right? And there's this real kind of resolve that a lot of folks who are younger millennials are having, which is, hey, I make a little bit of money. I want to keep my money, right? And the country has never really worked for Black men, so what do I have to lose? And so Black men are beginning to vote with their pocketbooks. And I think that that's not misguided. But I think I think the Democratic Party has failed to demonstrate what it has to offer the Black man specifically.
I don't want a Black man's policy. I
Right.
don't want a Black man's policy. I want a policy that's going to be applied across the board. And since I'm Black, I can benefit from it and understand capitalism and understand how to navigate. And we're never going to get a Black man's policy.
Now,
Henry,
notice this guy. He has the guy Hakeem on the far right at the bottom. He watches CNN. He watches CNN. The one on the left, upper left, Anthony Wilson, he's a liberal. Omar seems to be somewhat moderate. Henry seems to be somewhat conservative, somewhat. But in his views, he kind of is, you know. The one in the middle is the host. One on the far left over here, I believe he's a Christian. And you'll see what I mean when he shares his views on life.
You wanted to hear a message that you said was not through the language of social justice. What does that mean?
There's more to Black men than social justice and these problems with police. I just feel like a lot of politicians, they feel like the only way to talk to Black men is through that language about social justice.
This cycle, they are leaning into her experience as a prosecutor.
I think that is net positive. I mean, there's nothing that anyone can say to make me feel as though I have more in common with Donald Trump than Kamala Harris.
Do you hear this dude? Do you hear what this guy here? These are the people that I'm telling y'all about. The willfully uninformed, the willfully ignorant. He's voting based on color. He ain't voting based on policy. He made it clear. He said earlier that Black men who vote based on their pocketbook, that's misguided. How is that misguided if you're affecting my standard and way of living? That is so stupid.
This has become the center focus because of its relationship to Black men, and this idea that we can sever Black men from Kamala Harris if we just say she puts us in jail, and I feel like that's like a complete fallacy.
How relevant is her support for a woman's right to make medical decisions about her body?
It's the woman's body, so she should be able to dictate her terms of her body.
The Lord.
So Omar, you hear what he says right there. That's biblically off, but let's continue.
Made life. Jesus Christ made life. In life. Jesus Christ. The Lord made life. Jesus Christ made life. And you have to value life. So Kamala wants to take life.
There's so much that we don't know as men that we don't have the privilege to opine on. Like, we will never have a period. We will never go through childbirth. So to even fix our mouths to comment on how, I don't care what God.
This guy is so stupid. We'll never have a period. You know what? I'll never have gills like a fish and be able to stay underwater for the rest of my life. What does that have to do with anything? This guy is just dumbing in a cheap bags of rocks on clearance sale.
I don't care what God said on how. I don't care what God said it. Women have the right to govern their bodies.
This fool just said, I don't care what God says. Did you hear that? I don't care what God says. I guarantee you will when you close your eyes for the last time and take your last breath, you idiot.
And it's time to shut our mouths.
These are the people. These are the people going to the voting booth. And these are the people that give women more authority regarding a body that's inside of them that they themselves, most of the times through consent, allowed to be there. So now they have the right to murder another human being because life begets life. But this is the view of Kamala Harris and the views of those who support her. So anyone that votes for this woman, you're endorsing a murderer. And if you profess to be a Christian, you may want to question and check your salvation because you may not have it. And listen, this is just some of the things that Kamala Harris endorses and support. We know that she wants to defund the police. We know that. We know she wants to ban fracking. We know that. I mean, this woman has a list and a treasure trove of things that we can just pull up and draw from to show why would anybody in their right mind support and endorse a woman like this. I mean, her laws and her rule as a prosecutor, as a DA, and as an AG in California was horrendous as well too. And she mocked it and even lied about her laws, particularly with the truancy law that she was infamously known for, but also was proud about putting people in jail as well too.
So I created this initiative with the intention of putting a spotlight on it, and frankly, willing to be the bad guy to put a spotlight on it, but with the intention, which was the goal, which was achieved, of then highlighting and uplifting the resources that were available for those parents to get those children to school every day.
So you didn't lock up parents when their kids didn't go to school. I'm just trying to clear up all the BS.
Yeah, no.
Do you hear that? So you didn't lock up your kids. You didn't lock up parents for kids who didn't go to school. What did you say again, Kamala?
Kids didn't go to school. I'm just trying
to school every day.
So you didn't lock up parents when their kids didn't go to school. I'm just trying to clear up all the BS.
Yeah, no.
Hold up.
As a prosecutor and law enforcement, I have a huge stick. So I decided I was going to start prosecuting parents for truancy.
That's you on tape.
The lies! There you go, this bitch. The lies. And I believe a child going without an education is tantamount to a crime. So I decided I was going to start prosecuting parents for truancy. Well, this was a little controversial in San Francisco.
No, look at the laugh. Look at the laugh. She decided to do this, to lock them up, not send a warning, not send truancy officers to the home to see what's going on, because everybody's home and every situation is different. Not everyone is trying to have their children ditch school. No. What did you say, Kamala? What did you decide to do with the power that you have that you've been abusing?
Controversial in San Francisco. And I was going to start prosecuting parents for truancy. Well, this was a little controversial in San Francisco. And frankly, my staff went bananas. They were very concerned because we didn't know at the time whether I was going to have an opponent in my re-election race. But I said, look, I'm done. This is a serious issue, and I've got a little political capital, and I'm going to spend some of it.
You ain't got to lie. That's you on tape.
Hi.
This individual here is Sheree Peoples. You may have heard about her. This is the woman whose daughter has been diagnosed and battles with sickle cell anemia, and she's the woman who had went to jail because of Kamala Harris's truancy law, and she just shares her story. This video is actually 11 years old. This happened in 2013, but I'll let you hear her story.
My name is Sheree Peoples. On March 13, 2013, I was arrested for truancy for my child, and she has a chronic illness called sickle cell anemia. This is me the day they came and arrested me at my house. I was unaware that they even was considering my child to be a truant. Her diagnosis, sickle cell, it's a really chronic disorder. There's no cure for it. They pretty much are born with it as a hereditary blood disorder that affects every major organ in their body. Everyone, the brain, the heart, the lungs, anything that is related, the eyes, they have strokes, high rates of strokes. Sickle cell, it's not a known, people don't know about it. They don't know, they know of it, but you don't really know about it. And it's a totally different thing when you're living it. And right now, I'm living the worst nightmare that any mother can possibly understand and go through, to be arrested based on the fact that your child has a chronic illness, and her illness prevents her from going to school, and I get arrested for truancy. It's documented that my child has an illness. She's chronically ill. The way her care is done, and for them to not just provide the services that are needed for me to be successful to help my child, they went ahead and arrested me.
Went ahead and arrested her, courtesy of Kamala Harris as the prosecutor, attorney general, district attorney, all of that. Parents of chronically absent students arrested in Orange County. This was April 18, 2013. She was arrested in March. 6 Orange County parents were arrested Thursday for allegedly letting their school-aged children accumulate dozens of unexcused absences, even after the school district issued warning about the students' truancy, according to OC law enforcement officials. Well, if they did, they would have known that that Sheree Peoples was one of the individuals who had a reason, justifiable reason, why her daughter was excessively missing school. and not able to attend. Toya Latrice Daniels, Gustavo Martinez, and Maria de la Luz Martinez, Sheree Peoples, Tony Marie Aranda, and Virginia Ferrer Avila were arrested Thursday morning after their children had been taken to school, authorities said. 5 of the parents' children attend elementary school, and the other parent's child attends middle school in Orange County. The Martinezes are accused of not enrolling their teenage child in school by January, more than 5 months into the academic year. Unexcused absences among the students range from 17 days to 24 days. Authorities said the parents had been contacted at least once by school and law enforcement officials and offered ways to help the child's truancy, such as after-school homework programs and enrollment in a mentor program. All 6 parents face 1 count each of contributing to the delinquency of a minor and failure to reasonable supervise or encourage school attendance, both misdemeanors. If convicted, the parents face a sentence ranging from probation to up to a year in jail and a $2,500 in fines. The parents were arrested as part of a sweep by a team of law enforcement agencies that comprise of OC Gang Reduction Intervention Program, which aims to increase school attendance and decrease gang activity among at-risk youth. They handcuffed the mom because her daughter was out sick from school. Sheree Peoples was arrested in front of her home, in her pajamas in the spring of 2013. Why? Because her 11-year-old daughter, Shayla, had sickle cell and needed to miss 20 days of school. From early on in her career, Kamala Harris was tough on truancy, eventually sponsoring a law that targeted chronic, unexcused school absences. The result? Parents of truant students facing as much as thousands of dollars in fines or even a year in jail. But Peoples knew she did nothing wrong. She'd been careful with her daughter's medical records and was working with the school to provide appropriate disability accommodations. So when she faced pressure to plead guilty to her crime, she refused. Because what was her crime? Being a good parent? Eventually, after a really long time spent in court, the charges were mysteriously dropped. Before the truancy law was signed, Harris laughed about the idea of scaring parents with jail time. Years later, she says she regrets it because of the way it was used to criminalize parents like Peoples. But her regret hasn't changed the law and speaks to a bigger issue. Instead of actually working with parents of absent children, the criminal legal system punishes families and makes their lives even harder. And that's the nature of the system, finding ways to criminalize someone for a problem instead of finding a solution. But this is not just one of the heinous laws that Kamala Harris is known for. She also tries to claim on the Breakfast Club, not on the Breakfast Club, when she was talking with Luke. People call him Uncle Luke, but whatever. With Luke, interviewing with him, her promise and her desire and her plan to reform the cash bail system. I think there probably was some individual who would wish that she had done that before, but hey, they laid thousands of dollars short, right?
And that's why, as president, for me, it's about ending mass incarceration. It's about holding law enforcement
ending mass incarceration, but participating in it too, right? Go on.
Both prosecutors, police and prosecutors, because people talk about police, but also prosecutors.
Like yourself, but their prosecutors have what they call prosecutorial immunity. Kind of hard to get them on anything, right? You know that, right, Kamala? But go ahead.
And it's about what we need to do to take the profit out of the prison system with these for-profit prisons.
Yeah.
And the profit out of the whole system around bail and money bail, which means that people are sitting.
Yeah, that she denied to individuals and to people that she had locked up. But go ahead, Kamala.
In jail every day, simply because they don't have enough money to get out. But people who have money for the same offense are walking around free.
You mean like Jamal Truelove? You mean like Sheree Peoples, who didn't have any money, that they had to almost, be on the street? But go ahead.
Economic justice as well, criminal justice, right?
Yes, no doubt about it.
So these are the things. But I know the system, and I know that as president, look, let's look at who's on that stage. Before they were running for president, who was working on reforming the system for decades besides me?
Yep.
You know, you've got
And
folks
they,
like
and they had opportunity.
They had opportunities.
They had opportunities to do different things.
But very few of them, before they ran for president, have a lifetime of experience and dedicating a career to reforming this system.
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system. That is,
if this didn't cause Kamala to lose her run for the presidency during the 2020 Democratic debate, I don't know what else it. I don't know what else did, because Tulsi straight smoked, straight bodied, straight washed her in this debate.
disproportionately negatively impacting Black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. That would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Senator Harris, your response.
As the elected Attorney General of California, I did the work of significantly reforming the criminal justice system of a state of 40 million people.
Now, notice she never responded to Tulsi's accusations and charges against her. No, y'all notice that, right?
Which became a national model for the work that needs to be done. And I am proud of that work. And I am proud of making a decision to not just give fancy speeches or be in a legislative body and give speeches on the floor, but actually doing the work of being in the position to use the power that I had to reform a system that is badly in need of reform. That is why we created initiatives that were about reentering former offenders and getting them counseling. It is why, and because I know that criminal justice system is so broken, that I am an advocate for what we need to do to not only decriminalize, but legalize marijuana in the United States.
I want to bring Congresswoman Gabbard back in. Your response,
The bottom line is, Senator Harris, when you are in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And worse yet, in the case of those who were on death row, innocent people, you actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them until you were forced to do so. There is no excuse for that. And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
Now, notice she did not have a word. She couldn't come back from that. She couldn't come back from that at all. And you know, I would believe to this day, Kamala has this woman in her crosshairs. Because this whole cash bail reform and all of that, yeah, miss me on that. Even people like Jamal Truelove know that wasn't true.
The District Attorney of San Francisco, Kamala Harris, appeared in the courtroom during your trial twice.
Yeah, the two times that Kamala Harris showed up to my trial was when I got convicted, and also when they laid down the sentencing. It felt to me that.
Let's see. Hopefully, YouTube won't strike this one, because notice what I just did, right? Let's just see if YouTube is going to be nice and not trip. Let's continue on.
She was well aware about my case, and she was there to set her presence, almost take pride in getting a conviction. When I put in my appeal, the people that's fighting against my appeal to keep the conviction is the Attorney General.
People fighting against this appeal was who? The Attorney General. And guess who the Attorney General was, y'all? We all know who it was. Let's go.
I learned it reading, their reply to my appeal, and you see Kamala Harris' name at the bottom.
So much for cash bail, right? So much for that, right? This is the woman that some of you who are watching this video are going to be supporting, because you've been told lies about her history, about her track record, and about who she is as an individual. I guess my question is, and I think y'all heard enough, right? I think y'all heard enough about this woman. I mean, it took me hours to get these videos together and to have them, sequenced and put in order for you. But I believe you've heard enough. I believe you've heard enough. My question is how is Donald Trump worse than Kamala Harris? How was Donald Trump's presidency that we were able to be under less beneficial for us, but the Biden and Harris administration was so much better for us? I mean, they'll have you thinking that the economy was strong, that jobs are on the rise. We just heard reports that almost 1,818,000 jobs were padded. They were added to the list. They were not real jobs, i.e., the Biden administration lied. Once again, is that surprising? Of course it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. But my question is what is it about Trump that people have such an issue with that those who once loved him now loathe him? They hate him. They despise him. They don't want to have anything to do with him. They're making it their business to make disparaging statements and remarks about this man so much to where you would have people to think that this man is the Antichrist. This man is Satan personified. That there's nothing that he has done that has benefited anyone, and particularly the black community. You would think people like Oprah Winfrey, who used to love her some Trump, would be standing by her friend, who she considered a friend, who she had no problem bringing on her show, and even encouraging him to possibly, maybe run for president and enjoy his company as a celebrity as well, too.
Various celebrities in New York, because it was the opening concert in New York, and there were all kinds of celebrities, very, very famous people coming in to be seated, and that when you were seated, you got the loudest applause. People stood up and roared and cheered when you walked in. Why is that? What is this fascination?
I don't know. Maybe I should be a rock star. By the way,
they thought you were going to moonwalk.
He was great. I have to say. No, I did get I don't know why. I really don't know why. I wish I could pinpoint it. I wish I could really tell you why. But I think I've done a good job in New York, and I've done a charitable job in a sense. And Trump Tower has become such a success, and it's as you and I were discussing, it's become the #1 attraction in New York now, Trump Tower. And I think people recognize it. New York people are really proud of it, and people.
So you've sort of become like a folk hero. I mean, people. There's someone in this audience. I was reading the audience list. Some man who's a businessman. You can tell me who you are later. Who went to New York and just wanted to stand by your building, hoping some of the luck would run off.
Is that true? Is he in this audience?
He's in this audience.
We have to find him.
Yeah. And so how do you explain that, or is there an explanation?
I believe that you make your own luck to a large extent. Well, the word luck is a very important word. Very important. There's no more important word than luck. But you can help create or help make your own luck. I walk down the street a lot of times, and people will touch me and they'll grab for me, and I used to really be insulted because I'm a private guy. I'd say, geez, that's horrible. Somebody punches you in the arm a little bit, and you're just walking down the street. And then ultimately, I became, in a sense, honored by that because people are really looking for something. Unfortunately, I don't think that has any effect. I don't think it works. I think you have to go out and really work hard and do what.
You took out a full-page ad in major U.S. newspapers last year criticizing U.S. foreign policy. What would you do differently, Donald?
I'd make our allies, forgetting about the enemies you can't talk to so easily, I'd make our allies pay their fair share. We're a debtor nation. Something's going to happen over the next number of years with this country because you can't keep going on losing $200 billion, and yet we let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Oprah. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. And, hey, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese people.
Does this man sound like a communist? Does he sound like a socialist? Does he sound like a person who wants to put other countries first? Or does he sound like an individual that seeks to put America first? Just a question.
I mean, you can respect somebody that's beating the hell out of you, but they are beating the hell out of this country. Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings. and yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me, and I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
Probably not, but I do get tired of seeing the country ripped off.
Why would you not?
I just don't think I really have the inclination to do it. I love what I'm doing. I really like it.
So that means, ladies and gentlemen, that his intent was never to be president. But his love for this country and his love for people, to see other people do well, was the reason why he ran for president. The reason why he takes the attacks and takes all the beatings. The reason why he tries his best to see other people win. In fact, I'll probably even go as far as to say that he was willing to take a bullet. Just saying. Just saying. If this man was so greedy, why would he only take $1 of his presidential salary when he was running for president? He refused to take a president's salary. He only took $1 because he was obligated to. But he gave the rest of his presidential salary to charity. Just saying. I mean, if he only cares about himself, like Kamala Harris said in her wax speech, then why would he do what he has done, and even is striving to do to this very day? Because, like you said, he didn't have to do this. He could be taking it easy. He's in his 70s now. Why would he put himself through all this? For love of country, love of people, in my opinion.
Also, it doesn't pay as well.
No, it doesn't. But, you know, I just probably wouldn't do it, Oprah. I probably wouldn't, but I do get tired of seeing what's happening with this country. And if it got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally, because I really am tired of seeing what's happening with this country, how we're really making other people live like kings, and we're not.
What do you think of this year's presidential race, the way it's shaping up?
Well, it's going to be very interesting. I think that probably George Bush has an advantage in terms of the election. I think that probably people would say that he's got like that little edge in terms of the incumbency, et cetera, et cetera. But I think Jesse Jackson's done himself very proud.
Who, by the way, Jesse Jackson was supported by Trump. Yeah, you know, this white supremacist that people want to have you and I believe he's a racist. But we'll get to that in a minute.
I think Michael Dukakis has done one hell of a job, and George Bush has done a hell of a job. You know, they all went in there sort of as semi-underdogs, including George Bush, and they've all come out. I think people that are around all three of those candidates can be very proud of the jobs they've done.
You've said, though, that if you did run for president, you believe you'd win.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd win. I tell you what, I wouldn't go in to lose. I've never gone in to lose in my life. And if I did decide to do it, I think I'd be inclined, I would say that I would have a hell of a chance of winning, because I think people, I don't know how your audience feels, but I think people are tired of seeing the United States ripped off. And I can't promise you everything, but I can tell you one thing: this country would make one hell of a lot of money from those people that for 25 years have taken advantage. It wouldn't be the way it's been, believe me.
Now, this is the same Donald Trump that we see now today. I mean, of course, he's older, right? But his philosophy has been the same. So who really changed? Who's the one who's changed their admiration and appreciation and affection and love and support for another individual? I mean, now this is a letter that Oprah wrote to Trump, January 11, 2000. Donald, I received the book. I have to tell you, your comments made me a little weepy. It's one thing to try and live a life of integrity, still another to have people like yourself notice. Thank you, Oprah. You see the signature at the bottom? Too bad we're not running for office. What a team. Yeah. That's her letter to Trump in 2000, January 11th, 2000. Her signature is right there at the bottom, just above the red circle. And if he's such a racist, I don't know. If he's such a racist, if he loathed the black community, he was such a white supremacist, what is he doing around all these Negroes? What is he doing around all these black folk? All these coloreds? What is he doing around all these people? Wouldn't he be nervous? Wouldn't his anxiety, become triggered? This is a lot of people these are a lot of potential robbers here, a lot of potential felons, abusers. I mean, they can take out his Secret Service, all these people, couldn't they? Just a question. New photos emerged showing Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson thanking Donald Trump for private donations to several African American scholarship funds. I'd like to remind everyone that this is the man they now call racist. Look at this. He's holding Al Sharpton's hand. Look at who's on the right. Old Jesse. Look who's above him. Old Al. And it's the same Trump who received awards, was in pictures with people, Muhammad Ali, Rosa Parks. Jesse Jackson gave him an award. He was loved in Harlem for the things he's done for the black community. Just being Trump. Amazing how he wasn't racist until he became a Republican candidate. There's Whitney Houston with Trump. There's Don King with the Don and Trump, and also Jesse. There's Omarosa being kissed on the cheek by Trump. That racist. There's Trump with Muhammad Ali. There's Trump with Tyson, Don King, Larry Holmes. They're racist. Correct me if I'm wrong, I do recall him having heavyweight fights and bouts at one of his hotels in Las Vegas. I believe he had a hotel in Las Vegas. Correct me if I'm wrong. But just saying, he's a racist, right? I mean, he was bad for black people. He was bad for the economy so much that even Don Johnson had to say how bad he was, right?
I think the economy is doing absolutely great, and it's particularly reaching into populations that heretofore have had very bad problems in terms of jobs, unemployment, and the opportunities that come with full employment. So African American unemployment is at its lowest level. I get
whoa, sir, Mr. Bob Johnson, former CEO of Black Entertainment Television, BET. Are you giving Trump his propers? Are you giving Trump his flowers topside, sir? It sounds like to me you are. Let me make sure, because I don't want to misquote you, sir. I thought that you were going to say how bad the economy was under Trump. I thought you was going to say, he was the worst president ever. Look at his economic policies and so forth. Let me make sure I got what you said right, sir. Go ahead.
Unemployment is at its lowest level. So African American unemployment is at its lowest level. I give President Trump, and I've said this before on Squawk Box, I give President a lot of credit for moving the economy in a positive direction that's benefiting a large number of Americans.
What you say? What? You give credit to Trump for the economy? You mean he didn't tank this country? He didn't run this country in the ground? He didn't start wars? He didn't have black people eating at the soup line? We weren't back on the plantation? He didn't have us back in chains? What? Huh. But I thought the mainstream meat. But I thought my people at the job. I thought seeing it. I thought Ricky Smart. I thought Al Sharp. Never mind. I mean, I thought all these people said that Trump was a racist, that he was bad for black people, that he didn't care about black people, that black people were going to be worse off under a Trump administration than we would be under Obama. That's what I was told. I don't know if anybody else received that memo. I was told that. I was told that. So I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure what maybe I was living in a different time and a different era. Maybe maybe that wasn't the Trump that I saw. I'm sorry. Did anybody else if you're black, was your life worse under Trump's economy or is your life worse now under Bidenomics? If you're a black person, tell me which administration did you better? Which administration you fared better under? Was it under Trump's administration and his economy, or was it under Biden and his economy? I'm just asking. I'm just asking because maybe I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, and if I am, I stand corrected. But bring the facts and bring the receipts. That's all I'm asking for. That's all I am asking for. Okay. Well, maybe he's a racist. How about that? Donald Trump is a racist. We've heard that, right? He's a racist. Never mind what we saw. Forget those pictures that I showed you. Forget those collage of pictures that I showed you. Forget about what Bob Johnson said. No. He's a racist. He's a racist. He has to be a racist, right? He has to be. In order for it to fit our narrative, for us to tell other black people that don't research and do their homework, he has to be a racist because that's what we were told.
Liz, 83% of Democrats, according to a poll I read, 83% believe that Donald Trump is a racist.
The lies. There you go. This bitch. The lies.
No, I don't accept that. Ever.
Well, it's absolutely ridiculous. You know, no one thought that he was a racist until that he was going to run for president as a conservative. He was embraced by the black community. He has done amazing things for the black community. He won an Ellis Island Award that Rosa Parks stood next to him when he won this award. I mean, he's won awards for what he has done for the black community even before he was president. You know, and so it's the gesture has always been ridiculous, and no one thought that about him, and no one believed that about him until he announced he was running for president.
And that's the truth.
And so it's just very frustrating, and it's very obvious that the media uses the race card to divide us and to, you know, attack good people who aren't racist. And it's the same thing. Every 4 years, it's the same thing.
You know, I was reminded of this text in preparation for this stream about Trump. And I want to know if maybe you all can attest to this as well, too. I'm just going based off of my observation, okay? I'm pretty sure Donald Trump watches my stuff. How you doing, Mr. President? Good to see you. Good to see you in the chat, Mr. President. I know you're watching. But here's something that I've noticed about President Trump. All this information that I've heard, I've never heard it come from his mouth. I've never heard him go down the list of the things that he's done for black folk. I've never heard him ever, to my knowledge, him ever go down the list of things he's done for Jennifer Hudson, he's done for Oprah, he's done for Snoop, he's done for Kodak Black. None of this stuff. I'm always hearing it from other people. Always hearing it from other people, the things that he's done. I don't hear it from mainstream media. I don't hear it from black radio. I'm always hearing it from other sources, other reliable sources that will refute these charges and accusations. You would think that this man being attacked for being a racist would easily say, hey, man, this is what I've done for the black community. And he would have every right to do so, in my opinion, because his character is being attacked. But the Bible says, let another man praise you, Proverbs 27, verse 2. Let another man praise you and not your own mouth. A stranger and not your own lips. Let someone else praise you, not your own mouth. A stranger, someone else that you don't know, other people who are bystanders, and not your own lips. I mean, rappers loved him. Entertainers loved him. Athletes loved him. People loved this man until he came down that escalator in 2015, in 2016. I just found it interesting. Yeah, I agree, 100%, Proverbs. Yeah, he pardoned Andrew Stanton King, who's now acting bougie. I wonder how she feels now. You endorsed, you jumped off the Trump train and got on the RFK train, but now the RFK train has pulled into the train station of the Trump station. But I digress. But he has to be a racist, y'all. He has to be. He just has to be. Because it has to fit our narrative. It must fit our narrative, right? Let's see. We've all read this stories before from Liz Crokin. I'm just gonna highlight the things he's done for black folk. Because it's all about the stuff he's done for black people, right? Remember the lawsuit that people try to accuse him for? Talking about he got sued, for discrimination. That was false. He got sued because you had Section 8 families trying to live in his property, and they couldn't afford it, and they were trying to undercut the prices and the rates that he would charge for people living in his buildings. And Section 8 didn't cover it. And we all know who pretty much make up Section 8 residents. Black folk. That wasn't discrimination. If you can't afford to live here, you can't live here. But the media won't tell you that. You gotta look that up. But I digress. But what has he done for black people? What has he done for black people? In 1996, Trump filed a lawsuit against the city of Palm Beach, Florida, accusing the town of discriminating against his Mar-a-Lago resort. Why? Why'd you sue? Why'd you sue the city of Palm Beach where you live? Answer: because it did not allow Jews and blacks. Abraham Foxman, who was the Anti-Defamation League director at the time, said Trump put the light on Palm Beach, not on the beauty and the glitter, but on its seamier side of discrimination. Foxman also noted that Trump's charge had a trickle-down effect because other clubs followed his lead and began admitting Jews. If you're a racist, why would you start something that's going to cause other people to be exposed as being racist and then now stop being racist? If you're racist, don't answer that. In 2008, we all know this story. Jennifer Hudson's family members were tragically murdered in Chicago. Trump put the Oscar-winning actress and her family up at his Windy City Hotel for free. In addition to that, Trump's security took extra measures to ensure Hudson and her family members were safe during such a difficult time. And I still believe to this very day, this is one of the reasons why, even though I don't know if Common and her are together anymore, you need to dump Common. That dude, when I saw him at the DNC, the Dumb Niggas Convention, I lost all respect for him. I know he's an MC, but dude, when it comes to common sense, you don't have it. She need to dump his behind. But I believe to this day, that's one of the reasons why she hasn't publicly come out against and spoke any ill will against Trump, because this woman knows that this man was there for her family in probably the worst moment in her life. The worst moment of her life. In 2014, Trump gave $25,000 to Sergeant Andrew Tamaresi after he spent 7 months in a Mexican jail for accidentally crossing the U.S.-Mexico border. President Barack Obama couldn't even be bothered to make one phone call to assist with the United States Marines release. However, Trump opened up his pocketbook to help this serviceman get back on his feet. Lynn Patton, a black female executive for the Trump Organization, released a statement in 2016 defending her boss against accusations that he's a racist and a bigot. She tearfully revealed how she struggled with substance abuse and addiction for years. Instead of kicking her to the curb, she said the Trump Organization and his entire family loyally stood by her through immensely difficult. You mean they didn't put her out? They didn't put her on the street. They had a right to do so, but they didn't. What racist does this? Mr. Trump, you are a horrible racist. You're not on your racist game, sir. If you have a racist playbook, you're not reading it. You're violating everything in a racist playbook. Taking care of black people, giving black people money, putting them up in your expensive 5-star plus hotel. I mean, look, listen. Let me see if there's any redemption in Mr. Trump's. Maybe he's a racist now, huh? Maybe listen, y'all. Maybe, just maybe, Mr. Trump is a racist now. Maybe he turned a new racist leaf and now understands what a racist is, and now he don't want to help black folk no more. Let's see if that may be true.
A great-grandmother gets a second chance at freedom after President Trump commutes her life sentence. Alice Marie Johnson served 21 years for a non...
Wait, no, Mr. Trump, no. You commuting black folks' life sentences? What?
President Trump commutes her life sentence. Alice Marie Johnson served 21 years for a nonviolent first-time drug charge, but a serious charge of drug trafficking and money laundering.
Wait a minute. So you pardoned her when you became president, but wait a minute, wasn't Barack wasn't Obama president? If she served 21 years, I believe 8 goes into 21 at least 2 times. At least. You mean to tell me that this woman sat in prison until Trump pardoned her and got her out? This is not somebody said it in the chat, you're racist. It's not racism. It's not, sir. This is not a good look. You're not following the book.
Her story caught the eye of Kim Kardashian West, who made a personal plea for the release to President Trump last week.
No.
Johnson shared an emotional reunion with her family after walking out of an Alabama prison yesterday.
She was
They are the folks who had been lobbying for this pardon for...
Wait a minute. You got Stallone in there too? Come on, Mr. Trump. No, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. You're a racist, right?
Years now. Johnson was the first African-American heavyweight.
And then you posthumously pardon Jack Johnson? You weren't even born yet. What are you doing? Can somebody call Mr. Biden? Can somebody call Jim Crow Joe and give him the notes on what being a racist and a white supremacist mean to Mr. Trump? Somebody, please. Can somebody wake him up?
Champ. And in what was seen by many as a racial injustice, Johnson was convicted of a crime back in 1913. That crime was transporting a white woman across state lines. He died in 1946. Senator John McCain, former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid had also been pushing Johnson's case for years. But again, President Trump has posthumously pardoned Jack Johnson.
Education has the power to uplift.
Wait a minute. What are you about to do now? Okay, you done set Negroes free. I mean, come on now. That's enough. What you about to do? You about to help them with their education? You about to help them with their education too, sir? Come on.
It has the power to transform, and perhaps most important, education has the power to create greater equality and justice in our lives.
Don't do it.
That's why today I'm thrilled to be signing an executive order to recognize the importance of historically black college and universities. Very important. They have played such an important role in achieving progress for African Americans and in our nation's march for justice. HBCUs have been really pillars of the African American community for more than 150 years.
Okay.
Amazing job. And a grand and enduring symbol of America at its absolute best, and I congratulate you all.
Oh, don't congratulate them. For what? Why? They Negras, right? What you congratulating them for? Didn't you learn anything from the Clintons, Mr. Trump? I mean, they went over to Haiti and cleaned Haiti out with the Clinton Foundation, having them thinking that they were going to help the Haitians. I mean, this would have been a prime opportunity for you to do what Obama and Biden did. Just string Negroes along and have them think that you're going to help them, not fund the HBCUs and give them permanent funding for 10 years, which they're still benefiting from right now. I mean, you didn't pardon two people, two Johnsons, no relation, Allison and Jack. And then you sign executive orders. I mean, what else? I mean, surely you're not going to do anything else more for black people, right? I mean, that should be enough. You done freed Negroes. You done funded the educations. That should be enough. You don't have nothing else you're gonna do for us, do you?
In a few moments, I will sign an executive order launching a new White House opportunity. This is a very big thing that Tim and I and everybody have been working on for a long time. And Revitalization Council. This council will coordinate efforts across the entire federal government to deliver jobs, investment, and growth to the communities that need it the most.
They don't need it the most anymore. We were told we don't need any more help, at least not from you. You about to raise my pressure up, sir. You didn't pardon folk. You didn't sign executive orders for HBCUs. And then you up here signing a bill for opportunity zones. I mean, what else you gonna do? Are you trying to kill me with all this love for the black community? What are you really trying to do, sir? I mean, it's one thing. Listen, you better not have anybody agreeing with you about this. Surely nobody from the left. Nobody from the left should be agreeing with anything that you do. I don't care how noble. I don't care how virtuous. I don't care how philanthropic it is, or even presidential. There can't be anybody that's going to publicly affirm and agree with any of the things you've done for the black community, because you are a racist, sir. You are. That's what we're told. That's what we believe. There shouldn't be anybody from the left that say that what you have been doing for the black community is a good thing. And it better not be any bipartisan support for this either.
Mr. President, thank you so much. It's almost hard for me to speak about this without being emotional. In the process of this has brought together friendships that I'll cherish for the rest of my life. I'm now texting buddies with Van Jones.
How significant do you think this is? By the way, one of your partners in working on this was Jared Kushner.
Jared Kushner, whose father went to prison and who fought on this as hard as that. This is history. This is history. Right now, you're witnessing history on the floor of the U.S. Senate.
Yeah, I'm about to have
where there's a Christmas miracle underway where, for the first time in a generation, Republicans and Democrats are arm in arm tonight saying, we are sending too many people to prison. They're coming out bitter and not better. We want to make a tremendous difference. I want to say Hakeem Jeffries on the left, Jared Kushner, and Donald Trump on the right have brought together a coalition like I've never seen.
Oh, the mainstream media didn't tell me about this. None of my co-workers told me about this. None of my family members told me that you did this, Mr. Trump. Shame on you. Shame, 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 and everybody should know your name. There's no reason why you should run for president again if you're going to do all this good stuff for not just the black community, but for all people in every community. There's no reason why you should, because your policies can't be this good. Your policies can't be this great and better than Kamala's, whose policies we have yet to see. Just here talking, right? Okay, I'm done. Hopefully you all have seen and heard enough. make a biblical decision if you're going to the polls. If you decide to vote, your vote must be biblical. It can't be based on blackness or the lack thereof. It must be based on the word of God. It must be based on the word of God. Anything less than that is sin, and you need to repent. And if you can still vote for a party who does all of this, then you're not saved. If you can vote for the Democrat Party and vote for Kamala Harris and support her policies, you're giving clear indication that you do not know God, and you need to know him. You need to understand that you are a sinner and that your view and your worldview and your mind is still in the flesh and still the God of this world has you on his plantation. And you need to repent and you need to be saved. Because by your actions and by your deeds, you're giving proof and attestation that you don't know Christ. Those who know Christ, those who have been saved by his gospel, have the effects of the gospel expressed and evident and revealed in their life, even in who they support and or endorse, should they choose to do so. Why? Because when Christ came to this earth, he freed us from the slave market of sin. He freed us from our sinful desires that made us slaves to sin. Because Jesus said, anyone who sins is a slave of sin. Pattern practice of life. So a person who is a believer understands that their righteousness are as filthy rags. A person who is a believer understands that they could not save themselves, that it took someone greater, someone more powerful, matter of fact, all powerful than they are, to take on sinful flesh, to take on flesh, to be born of a sinful woman and be man at the same time being God, the God man, and live a perfect, sinless life, although wrapped in human flesh. And he took our sin on himself. He who knew no sin became sin for us. That's when he said on the cross, my God, why have thou forsaken me? Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. Because the Father's eyes was too holy to look upon sin. And when he saw the sin of the world and those who would be saved, he could not look upon his only begotten and beloved Son. And so Christ took on our sin, which separated him from the Father. And that's what sin does. It separates us. Anytime we sin, we lose fellowship with the Father. We lose fellowship with the Son. We lose fellowship with the Holy Spirit. And so sin brought separation. But through Christ's righteous work on the cross, he now has made us to be joined together with him, made us acceptable to the Father by his blood. We now have the Holy Spirit in us as a surety and a deposit for what is to come. We are now placed in his family. We have now been given spiritual gifts. We've now been able now to have direct communion and communication with God. We don't have to go to a priest. We don't have to go to somebody else's booth. We can go straight to the throne room of grace ourselves. And we can talk to God, the Father, by the Son, in the power of the Holy Spirit, anytime we want. Why? Because we are now children of God. And if that's you, you are his representatives. If that is you, you are his ambassador. And if you are his ambassador, you and I ought to represent the kingdom of God well. We're to represent the kingdom of God faithfully. We're to be true salt and light in this world. And that can be you. If you, under the sound of my voice, have not made right your sin with an almighty and thrice holy and righteous God, do not go to bed tonight without making it right with the creator of the universe before it is too late. Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your heart. Tomorrow is not promised to any of us. Every day the Lord allows us to see is a day of his mercy. Don't take life for granted, because eternity is a very long time to make up for earthly, sinful, rebellious mistakes and rebellion and sin. Please like the video. Please share the video. Again, if you are led to support this channel, please do not use Super Chat. Again, those who may have done so, thank you for the Super Chat earlier today. I do appreciate it. Thank you, Brother Chavez, for the Super Chat. I appreciate your support. Appreciate the love. Thank you so much for that. But again, you can go to the link below. I would encourage you to use those links. It is more of an expedited process versus going through YouTube. They take out fees, and I may not even receive any of the things that any of the revenue that I had received before, prior to them shutting down some of my videos and demonetizing them. The Because She's Black series, 2 of them have been demonetized. I did appeal them. Not sure if I'm going to get reinstated on those, but you can still view them. Please share them. Don't let that stop you, because we need people to hear the truth, especially within the Black community and other communities that are ignorant of the Democratic Party and their views. All right, so that's all I have tonight. I hope everyone has been blessed and encouraged by what was said. And Lord willing, I will keep you all posted for any other videos or any other content as well. But please like, subscribe, and share. Definitely do that. It helps to get the information out as best as we can, insofar and in so much that YouTube has not shadow banned me, which I know they have. I can tell by the numbers, even though I'm not a numbers person. Again, you can support the ministry by the links below as well. Thank you, moderators, for populating the support links. Definitely appreciate that as well. Again, the BCV store is open and up and running. Like, support the ministry by purchasing merchandise. You can do that as well. Information is posted below and taken across the screen also. Anyway, that is my time, ladies and gentlemen. I do thank you so much for yours. Y'all know the drill. Whatever you do, do all to the glory and honor of God. God bless.
Thank you for sharing this night. God bless you. Good night.
It's time to say goodbye for now.
It's over, ladies and gentlemen.
Mama, I love you. P.O.P. all the time. Right, these all good pimps, boy, baby.
All lies will be exposed. That's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong way. The truth is the light.
Please.